Last time on Silver Elite, Ren was reprimanded for fighting, but it was mostly so she could go to her love interest's office and stare at his pecs. Several chapters of boring nothingness went on for some time. Ren did several unrealistic military drills, and she was still trying to go with her plan of I'm very bad at everything, even though there was no reason for her to do it. The main character went to Pit Night, which was just a club where also there's a fighting ring. She got to wear a sexy dress and be angsty about Cross. Ren and company did training to jump from building to building, but some other guy fell and he died. This death made some other girl upset, and it turned out she was a rebel empath, so Psycho Ro shot her. Ren thought about escaping, so she had one of the bullies break her wrist. This did not work because they just brought in a magical healer who fixed her right up. The rebels decided Ren should maybe do something, so they contacted her and made her their new spy. Now she had to start doing good and being a real soldier for the plan, TM. We of course took even more time to thirst over Hot Guy and ogle his body. The group did skydiving class and landed in the desert, which turned out to be so that the main character could ogle the Hot Guy in their new outdoor showers. Ren went to a pointless undercover training mission. She got to sit on Cross's lap for a while. That's it. Ren and Cross had no chemistry, so they decided to boink. Ren and company did torture class. Ultimately, it does not matter. Our main character graduated into Silver, but we care more about which outfit she's going to wear. And then she did the final test to get into the Silver Elite, which is the dumbest test ever devised. She had to kill a girl. She didn't really, but she did. Ren is now Silver Elite, so she gets her own apartment. She and Cross have sex about it.
Hello, my lovelies. We are back for Silver Elite Chapter 38. So now she's being contacted, very briefly, 2 sentences, by the rebellion, who are like, you need to figure out what they're up to, what their current objectives are. I don't know why they couldn't find that out just by like wiretapping or something, since they've apparently got their hands in like all of the technology. I'm pretty sure their objectives are just to be dumb and bad at training their soldiers. Their new classroom setting is very much giving like evil meeting place, because it's like a big table with black chairs all around it and a screen at one end. She gets her tablet out and she searches for her uncle's name, Jim, and still not allowed to see that information, but she searches for herself and her classmates, and they've apparently just been expunged. They have been deleted from the records. How often do they recruit? I forget, I think they told us at the beginning, but apparently there are 16 in the actual Silver Elite unit, and they're all out on assignment. And now they have more kids coming in. How often do they get new blood, and when and why? Of course, the main character is not thinking about any of that sort of thing. She's thinking about how hot her sexy times were last night, and why nobody's asked her about her romance yet. So they pull up some guy who's probably going to be their target, named Jasper Reed, and immediately the main character's like, ooh, this Jasper Reed guy is also hot, because there's nothing but hot guys in this world. This universe is wall-to-wall hot dudes. He's a smuggler, and also a drug runner, and I have my suspicion that we're not going to find out that this is incorrect. I have my suspicion that he's actually just going to be like a bad person, running drugs into innocent neighborhoods and causing crime, rather than this being propaganda and he's actually helping people.
Oh, you're right. And when you're right, you're right.
I swear these names sound so made up. Farron Zeb.
Sayford Beeblebrook.
If this is ever turned into a movie, which I hope to God it isn't, how is anybody going to say with a straight face, Farron Zeb? So we're also hearing a little bit about the faithful Jasper Reed, the smuggler. He also smuggles supplies out to the faithful. Oh dear, this author is trying to tackle the idea of like infrastructure in a smuggling ring. And honey, I haven't to trust the author. Danny, sweetie, baby, no. Don't try to do this. You do not have the skills. You have no idea how any of this would work. You also don't know how the military works. But he's like, we need to take down this smuggling platform bit by bit. We need to get all of it, all of the little bits and pieces, you know, peripherals before we go after the head. And he's sending the main character back home to her hometown, because that's supposedly one of the places where there's an uprising cell. Oh, she's not being sent there. Someone else is being sent there, and she wants to be sent there. So the meeting is over, and it says, waiting for Ford and Struck to leave before I stomp over to Cross. So she's just doing the whole, like, pouty little kid, like, I want to talk to you. So he won't let her go back to her hometown, obviously, and she makes a quip about their sexy times, and then she leaves. She goes to leave, and then Travis, the mysterious brother with the normal name, shows up. It says, when I turn to salute, since when have we ever saluted in this story? They never learned to salute. Nobody salutes. People very occasionally might stand at attention, but that only happens like maybe twice. Why are we saluting all of a sudden? What does a salute in this world even look like? So yeah, she met Travis. It was uneventful. She goes back to her quarters and contacts the network. At least she thought to do that. At least she can be smart enough to be like, oh, I should let the other rebels know that Silver Elite are coming to my town. She asked them about the smuggler, and this guy's like, yeah, the smuggler's not a part of our rebellion, of course. He's just a smuggler, and we don't particularly like him. So it's okay if he dies. Of course, the rebellion guy, Declan, has to take a moment to be annoying to the main character, because she's like, I have to warn my bestie. I don't know why she bothers to tell him this. And then he's like, no, you won't. You don't get to talk to anybody. And she's like, and I'm like, yeah, well, of course, because we have to not like him for some reason. We don't want to like anyone in this book, except for Hattie McHotpants. So she immediately does contact her friends and warns them. As soon as she gets off the psychic phone with the rebel guy. And then we time jump. So her and Kane, they're always together. They always just keep getting assigned together. End up in Ward C, and it's really boring. They're just going around trying to get information from people. But you'd think that people would not be very willing to give any information about anything when strangers come to town. Suddenly the main character is thinking about the faithful living out in the woods, and she's like, I kind of feel sorry for them, and we should probably leave them alone. And she has never spared a thought for what she thinks about the faithful until now. Apparently in this world, though, they can grow you a new heart in a lab. Not here in the small town, but like in the big city. So are we doing like a whole Repo the Genetic Opera situation? Like if you can't pay for your heart, what happens?
Zydrate comes in a little glass vial.
A little glass vial?
But apparently the smuggler has been hiding things in this hospital basement, the hospital that they're at. So they gotta go check it out. Okay, sure. This is where I feel like the author may have used ChatGPT. She's like, what missions could our characters go on? And I could definitely see ChatGPT being like, there's a smuggler who's hiding things in a basement of a hospital. No explanation of how they get into the hospital or who they encounter. They're already just sneaking down the hallways. She, of course, stumbles upon what appears to be some kind of clandestine meeting or something happening down in the basement. And she's like lurking outside the door like, there's people down here. There weren't supposed to be people. It's not a meeting. They're patients, but like weird patients. Like some of them are strapped down and some of them are wandering around. She immediately decides that the course of action that she needs to take is to enter the room. Hope that they're not being quarantined in here because they have some deadly virus. She's about to let the zombie plague out, but she's going to go in because I don't know why. It just says, despite my better judgment, I pull the door handle. I forget my objective, the mission. I enter the large room. Why? But of course, there are mutants in here, and she can tell that by their silver blood that we've basically forgotten about. And they're all kind of in various states of distress and mental anguish, and just like muttering and staring and not really acknowledging her, which is giving zombies, but she has absolutely no sense of self-preservation. So she's wandering around amongst these people, and she's, like, horrified, and then her partner comes to the door, and she's like, what are these people? And he knows. I don't know why she doesn't know, but he says they're fragmented. It's what happens when your mind isn't strong enough to withstand your gifts. I guess they stick you in a basement. That's what happens. So apparently they can grow you a brand new heart in this universe, but people with mental illnesses are just, like, killed off, I guess, because she's like, I don't know why these people are here, because the general doesn't usually let people with mental illnesses survive. So that's horrifying, and can we explore that? And do I have horrifying implications on the bingo card? Because if not, it should be, and I should have already crossed it off. We're not going to address any of this, I guarantee. The fact that they just apparently kill off people who have mental illnesses? Excuse me? She's surprised to find these people down here, because she's surprised they're not dead. Yeah, she looks at these people, these distressed people who are her people, and she says, why don't you just kill them? Meaning the general, why doesn't he just kill them? It wouldn't be the first question I would ask. Also, why did you come in here? But then one of them decides to go immediately, like, Left for Dead zombie and grabs her arm and starts to scream, which will alert people that they're here. So some orderlies come out and calm the woman down who was screaming, and then they just tell the main character to, like, leave. They don't ask any questions about who these people are or why. The main character had a gun out. She put it away? I hope so. Because otherwise they look really fucking suspicious. Like, the orderlies aren't like, what the heck are you doing down here? They're like, just leave. We don't care where you came from, but you can't be here.
Is it supposed to be stupid?
And the main character's takeaway is that she's really glad that this never happened to her. Not, oh my gosh, this is horrible, I have to help these people. Like, they could at least be living under better conditions than this. She's like, well, at least it wasn't me, thank God. Wow, I hate this main character so much.
So we keep insisting that this main character, that Ren, is so impulsive. She follows her impulses. She's got impulse control issues. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then a character who's actually impulsive, who actually does that and behaves that way, should look at this room full of these people who are in obvious distress. They're in a basement. They're clearly not having a good time. She just assumes that because they're fragmented, a word that she literally just learned from someone else, that there's no way that they can be helped, and I guess they just deserve to be in this basement. A truly impulsive character would go, I'm busting these people out. Let's get them out of here. Let's get them somewhere where we can help them. The thought did not even cross her mind. She's just like, oh, I guess these people need to be down here. That is not an impulsive character, and that's certainly not a character that I'm interested in following, who just doesn't even think about whether these people belong down here. She's just like, well, it's really sad that they're like this. Glad it wasn't me.
And then we time jump to them finding the supply cache exactly where it was supposed to be, and they deal with it. So she communicates with the rebels, and she's like, did you know about this? And they're like, yeah, of course we did. And then they're like, BTW, next piece of information we need is to find out if you know anything about what happened at Uncle Jim's execution, because we think there was an insider there, but we can't find out. And of course, it was the main character. She's like, absolutely not. I'm not that. And they're like, oh yeah, we know you're not, because Uncle Jim told us all of your powers, and that wasn't one of them. And she's just like, good old Uncle Jimothy, always looking out for me.
Yes, Jim, what is it now?
So they're in the helicopter, they got to the chopper, and they're flying home when all of a sudden they get an alert that reinforcements are needed in Z, which is her hometown. So that's where they're going in the next chapter. And they're like, I don't want to keep reading, but I feel like I should, because I really need to get through this damn book.
By the way, going back through this, I cannot get over the people in the basement, the fragmented people in the basement of the hospital, because that scene only existed to be used as like a red herring later. It only exists to let you know that fragmented are a thing, not to show you how bad like their medical system is or how badly her people are treated. It's just to show you that some people who are mutants have like a mental breakdown because of their powers, apparently. That's it. That's all that scene existed for. And I am like unreasonably mad about it.
Alright, let's keep finding our way through this thing. Chapter 39, it's to chapter 40, y'all. She's gone back to her hometown of Hamlet. She thinks her hometown feels smaller now, insignificant, since, she's been out in the big world of the military fortress. Also, we know that she's tense and she's distressed about being home, but we still have to, in the first page, remind us that Cross is really hot, though. They're looking for somebody called Griff Archer. I'm sure I've heard that name at the beginning of the book, but my god, it's stupid. It's her friend's dad. They have snatched up Griff Archer and are torturing him for information. Of course, we have to have something that's the main character's fault, so she can feel guilty. So because she tried to warn her friend, or because she warned her friend and her dad tried to skip town, and in doing so, they got captured and are now being tortured, or at least the dad is. So the main character can be like, it's my fault for warning them. And I'm like, this is so contrived. Because we love in these books to have something that, like, the main character did that was, like, objectively a good thing, but something about it that they had no control over turned out bad, and then the main character gets to be guilty about something without actually having done anything bad. Fortunately, they have not found any of the secret tunnels that branch away from the town yet. So they go inside the building, and somebody immediately recognizes her and runs over and gives her a big ol' hug. So he's happy this guy, Fletcher's happy to see her, even though she's fully working for the Empire now. I'm going to call them the Empire because it's just Star Wars. Except for in this, the rebels are also bad. Everybody's bad. So she's like, let me go in and talk to Griff. I can get the location of the tunnels out of him. And you have to promise you won't kill him and Tana afterwards. And send them to a labor camp instead. This is what we're doing. We're fighting for her friends to be sent to a labor camp. But it sounds like that plan works because we time skip and now she's going to talk to Griff. She says, touching the prisoner isn't a standard interrogation technique, but I still squeeze his hand and sit in front of him. But interrogation seems to have involved a lot of hitting, and that doesn't qualify as touching the prisoner. Also, she keeps trying to contact Tana, but Tana's link is closed, and I'm like, can't Tana tell that you're trying to contact her? So, like, you just wait for her to have a moment when she can safely reach out. But as she's trying to convince Griff to go with the plan of going to the labor camps instead of the firing squad, somebody starts to, like, communicate in her head and is like, Ren, I need you! And then that's the end of the chapter. So, hey, at least something is happening. It's a really short chapter, but something is happening. And we're back for chapter 40. Something is finally happening. Look how far we are in the book. Something's finally happening. Although I thought something was happening about halfway through the book and it's still nothing happened, so this could be another false alarm.
You get nothing!
Okay, it's Tana communicating with her. I was pretty sure it was Tana, but they didn't tell us in the previous chapter. It could have been anyone. Could have been Uncle Jim back from the dead, for all we know.
Jim!
So the main character's like, I need to go. And she tells Heidi McHotpants that Griff will only accept the deal directly from him, not her, so that Cross has to go in and talk to Griff. These names, oh my god, I cannot take myself seriously saying these names. Cross needs to talk to Griff so that Ren can run to the inn and try to save Tana. I'm assuming, because she's like, I gotta go. Like, her plan is never good. If she plans, which doesn't happen, it's never good. And her improvised schemes are also always terrible. So, see what kind of bullshit she comes up with. Fortunately, no one else is paying attention. So she leaves Cross with Griff and she just takes off running. And there's no one else around paying attention to her doing this. She gets outside and she's like, how do I get to the inn? And then, of course, there just happens to be a motorcycle sitting there.
You're kidding. What a crazy random happenstance.
Yep, she just takes the motorcycle, which is apparently already ready to go, and just drives to the inn. So, makes that easy. There's nobody around. Again, she like drives into a ghost town. Everything's fucking deserted. There are no guards out front. The inn seems deserted, and she's heading for room 4 where Tana told her to come, even though it could totally be a trap, and they could be forcing Tana to say this by threatening her father. But, you know. But luckily for our main character, it is not a trap. She just goes, she knocks on the door, Tana pulls her inside, and it turns out that Tana has murdered her guard. Good for her. But just in case we were wondering if this bad guy was evil enough to have deserved this, the scene is laid out that he was very obviously trying to assault Tana when she shot him in the head. So, in case we were wondering, like, is there any redeemability to this guard who is with her? Nope. So the main character is like, okay, how do we solve this problem? Because now she's killed a guard. She's like, I'm going to say that I killed him. So Tana, I'm going to say that I came in and he was attacking you, and then he tried to attack me, so I shot him. I don't think our main character is smart enough to pull this off, but let's find out if the book hands it to her on a silver platter or not. I don't know if they use bullets or energy weapons. That's a big question, because she wants to set it up so it looks like dead guy aimed at her and shot at her, and so she needs to put a bullet in, like, the wall by the door. If there's a bullet in him, could they trace it back to his gun? Would they even do all of that work? I just don't know if there are bullets or energy weapons in this world. Who fucking knows? Yeah, she's like, it's okay. Anyone who looks too hard at the scene will note that the blood splatter did not match my story. But the only good thing about the general system of justice is that no one will dig too deeply into it. Well, there we go. The main character will be handed this on a silver platter by the plot. So, of course, Cross comes to investigate first, and it's implied that he is smart enough, you know, being the smartest man here or anywhere, that he can tell that the blood splatter is wrong, but he's, like, choosing not to say anything. And then some other people show up, and he just, like, is not mentioning it. They, of course, all believe the main character, but not Cross is suspicious. But he feels bad for the friend, because the friend is there obviously crying and disheveled. So Cross is a good man. While the main character was busy doing this, Cross made a deal with the dad, who gave away the location of one of the tunnels and is now being taken to a labor camp. So she hasn't been killed yet, but the black friend in this story, who we basically forgot about for most of the book, was assaulted, had to kill a man in self-defense, and is now being sent off to essentially slavery. So that's great.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
And I think I finally get to cross off one of these. POC, queer, disabled, etc. characters get shat on. Perfect. Why don't they just let the friend join the military? They let the main character join the military. No, the friend has to go to a labor camp. It's moments like this that I need to remind the author that you are writing this book. So you get to decide what happens in it. And you've already made up some very contrived scenarios. So couldn't you just say that it took Cross longer to figure out where the main character went and she helped her friend get out a window or something? Like, oh no, the prisoner escaped. And she can like psychically tell her friend where to avoid like soldiers and get away. But no, labor camp. So I think this is supposed to illustrate the struggle of like if you are infiltrating an organization like say the military here, and you might have to keep your cover, do things that hurt your friends. But like handled in the worst possible way, of course, because it's this book. So that night she goes back and she turns on the shower super hot and she's like just burning her skin because she doesn't know who she is anymore. Which would mean a whole lot more if she felt like a real person instead of just a cardboard cutout or maybe a tissue paper cutout. But of course Cross comes in. Okay, so they do have bullets in this world, and he knows that if he ran the ballistics on the bullet in the guy's head, that it would be the wrong one. So just this laziness then. Gets away with it with laziness. But Cross, we need to know that he's clever enough to know that she did it. Then she lays there, she makes him leave, and she lays there thinking about how she's all out of allies. And I'm like, what about that wolf guy that you like to talk to? Isn't he an ally? I guess not. Maybe we forgot about him. That's the end of the chapter. On to chapter 41. How long is it? Too long. Probably still gonna read it, because I want to get through this friggin' book. And we're back. Chapter 41. I don't want to be here. Nigel, Nigel, you read this book, huh? You like to have opinions. You're having them right now. Like his opinion that it's an hour before dinner time, but he should be fed an hour early today. He has a lot of opinions, so I don't understand why he can't just read this thing. I'd rather you gave me dinner early, Mother. That's what I actually want. All right, apparently we got a time skip. It's been 2 months, and she hasn't heard from Tana, who, as we mentioned, sent to a labor camp. Away from her father. They weren't even sent to the same camp. So that's great. It says, it breaks my heart. Well, I don't care. You know what breaks my heart? Authors who can't think of anything to do with their black characters except for having them be the white main character's best friend, and also get shipped off to labor camps or stabbed many times. And you might argue and be like, well, the main character in this isn't white. She's ambiguously brown. She's a white girl. Are you kidding me?
Real quick, I encourage you all to look at your screen for the official art. Just look at this girl. She looks like her name is Chelsea, and she's definitely a cheerleader. Or maybe a Kimberly, but spelled like Kimberley.
But this finally has made her realize that maybe she should start being helpful to the resistance. So she's like, if I maybe help them, I can at least make up for this. Or, wild thought, prevent other people from being sent to labor camps. Now she says, Wolf is out of touch. Well, thank goodness. Didn't want to talk to him anyway. In case you were worried about her relationship with Cross, they've been doing it every single night. So she says, one of the perks of being part of the elite is that you don't follow a schedule. No sentry post or regular assignment where I must wake up at a certain time, perform my duties, and return to my quarters. You didn't do that before. You've never done that. So, why are you oh, thank goodness I don't do that? I love how, the first most of this book was just the world's worst training, and then she's immediately an elite soldier because she killed somebody with a knife. And she's fully trusted. She's fully fine to be here. Nobody's suspicious of her. The only one who's kind of suspicious is her boyfriend, but they're boinking every single night. So, he's going to let her do whatever she wants. Let's be real.
It seems that working as an elite soldier for a fascist government is actually the happiest the main character has ever been.
But she managed to get some information for the Rebel Alliance off page, and she psychically sends it to them now. So Travis comes into the room she's in. You remember Travis, the only brother with a normal name. They got rid of Roe, who was the trouble brother. He didn't become an elite. So now they brought in Travis, because we gotta have brothers for some reason. I don't know, are they gonna be the love interests in the next books? Is it gonna be one of those things? But Travis is here, and she's like, oh, he looks so much like Cross. And that just reminds me of Xaden and his cousin who randomly looks just like him for some reason. Of course, because in all of these books, all of the side characters care the most about the main character's love life. They care more about the main character's love life than anything else they've got going on. So immediately he's like, yeah, you're not my brother's usual type. She doesn't ask him to elaborate, though. She's like, we're not dating. I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, yeah, okay, sure. And then she leaves. I guess she is allowed to fraternize with people who aren't the elites because we time skip and it says, I have breakfast with Liddy in the mess hall. Liddy's super happy in this military. She loves her new assignment. So we just visited with Liddy to show that she's doing fine. She, of course, asked the main character about her sex life. And then we cut because the main character has to go to the war room now. Thank God we had that scene with Liddy. The general's got a celebration coming up. It's his Jubilee. So we're going to need dresses at some point. She goes and talks to her other buddy, Kane, who's just been sleeping his way all across the base. But of course, our main character, she only has eyes for one extremely hot dude. But they get word that one of their supply caches has been bombed by the Resistance, which the main character knows was her doing because she informed the Resistance of that location. So apparently the Resistance has made a radiation-free nuke out of sugar. I don't know if that's a thing that can happen. Somebody ask Hank Green. Unfortunately, they missed the cache with their bomb. So we didn't even score that much of a success. Of course not. Unless the main character purposely gave them bad intel. We don't know. I don't think she intentionally gave them bad intel because she's sitting there very excited that she actually did something. Anything, really. She's like, yay, I'm helping. And I'm like, you could have been helping this whole time, you idiot. So she gets called to medical, and it says, wariness lines my steps as I make my way to the medical building. Wariness lines my steps. What does that mean? But it turns out all the elites were summoned to the medical bay. I guess it's time for mandatory wellness checks, which involves all of them showing up at the same time and having to wait around instead of just scheduling this check for each one of them and sending it to their roster or whatever, their little iPad.
And as my husband mentioned when we talked to him earlier, the medical checks would have happened well before now. They are already Silver Elite and have been doing some Silver Elite things, and only now are they getting a medical check, which is ridiculous. Like, they would have been rigorously medically checked before they were even, like, in the full training program.
Conveniently, they have to get, like, down to their skivvies for the doctor to do this examination. So I think it's just an excuse for her to have to get mostly naked in front of Cross and vice versa. But Ellis, the healer from before, is here to do the exams and magically heal people. And I don't know why he's back. Do we need to be reminded of him? Or is he going to, like, reveal something in this very contrived scene that was not led up to by anything else? So, of course, her burn scars on her thigh are revealed because they have to strip down to their underwear. For some reason, the healer can't do it unless he can touch their skin. And he's like, hey, I can get rid of your scars, which would be bad because the scars are hiding this, like, mutant birthmark that I guess if he gets rid of the scars will reappear for some reason. I guess, is that how birthmarks work? Like, if I had a birthmark on my arm and then I burned it horribly, and then you, like, fully healed it, would the birthmark come back? Or maybe magical birthmarks do. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll read one more chapter. One more chapter, Nigel. We can make it. All right, Nigel, we've got this. Chapter 42, let's go. We're getting so close. We're getting so close. I have no idea what I'm going to cosplay because there's nobody interesting in this book to cosplay as. Everybody just looks like a hot person wearing a t-shirt. Like, there's nothing. Up there swiveling their heads again. Nigel, walking back and forth across my lap will not give me to give you your dinner. You still have half an hour until dinner, bud. So our character is an idiot, at least that's consistent, and she can't come up with a good reason why she wants to keep the scar. My immediate thought was like, yes, this is a scar that happened when I was a child, but it's like the only thing I have left to remember my uncle by. Good old Uncle Jimothy.
Jim.
That immediately popped in my head, and she's like floundering. She's like, I just like my scar. I don't know. Wow. So she's just like, I just like all my scars because they remind me of where I've been. And she like points to other various scars on her body. And I'm like, that's so stupid. So all that fuss and muss and bother. And Ellis is like, okay, fine. I won't remove your scar. Cross comes over that night. He is buzzed and he's brought vodka. For some reason, he's talking about scars and a scar that he got while hanging out with his brother, Ro. And now we're talking about the brothers and their relationship with the parents. And I'm like, why are we doing this? Why any of this? I thought maybe things were going to happen But as usual, this book bamboozled me and was like, oh, you thought there were going to be things? You get things happening for like 2 chapters and then it's back to bullshit romance and talking about stuff that doesn't matter. This scene just exists so that he can lay her down and pull down her pants and be like, your scar is so beautiful, actually. I think your scar is beautiful. I kind of forgot he had tattoos because they have not been mentioned in all of the sex scenes. But now that they're in bed together, sleeping, she wakes up and she starts looking at his tattoos. So she reads... This guy's got, like, poetry written on him. Oh, he's so cringe. She reads his tattoos, because there's some of them are words, and it says, memories of eternal snow, when the wind turns against you, a single second. She's like, oh, what could it mean? What could it mean? And I'm like, you could ask him at this point. You guys are sleeping with each other every night. Just ask him what his damn tattoo means. So this chapter just ends very similarly to another one where she's like, I'm getting too close to him. This is the point of no return, blah, blah, blah. We've already said that one other time, but we're at the repeating ourselves point. But I'm going to set this thing down, maybe give Nigel his dinner a little bit early, recharge my devices, and we'll see when I get back to recording more. I'm going to try and focus and really, like, gauntlet this end. But like I said, I still have no idea what I am wearing as a cosplay, because this book is so bland. This book is such a nothing burger. I have no idea who I would cosplay. We'll see. Welcome back to a rainy morning. It has been very rainy lately, but Giorgio is here, and I am just going to try to power through this book. I am going to take this week, and any time that I would have been doing editing for my other videos, I am going to be reading this. So, the ferrets are out, and normally, while the ferrets are out, when I'm not playing with them, I like to do some editing on whatever video is going to be coming out this week, but I'm skipping this week, and we're just going to try to get through this book. So, wish me all the luck. Chapter 43. I mean, there's not that much left, right? It's just, there's still, like, no plot. We're on page 403, and I still have no idea, like, what is the climax of this book going to be? What are we building towards? There probably isn't going to be a climax. At this point, I predict this book is going to trickle to a stop and just be like, I don't know, read book 2. Probably the only thing that's going to happen is something is going to disrupt their relationship, and, like, that's going to be the only thing we're going to be worried about going into book 2. That's my prediction. So we cut in this chapter to her in a helicopter with Cross, and he just told her that they're going off base and she shouldn't wear a uniform, and so she interpreted that as wear a pretty dress. But all of the trials and tribulations of the previous chapters seem to be completely forgotten at this point. We are going on a potential date with a hot man. That's all that matters. She, of course, is looking at his extreme hotness together in the helicopter, and she has to keep telling herself, no, he's my enemy. His father hates me. It's like his father hates what you are, and there are other people like you, so maybe you should try harder to be in the resistance. Like, now that you know your best friend has been sent to a work camp, maybe you start trying to work to undermine or dismantle the work camps. Think about things besides yourself here. So they land and there's a convertible waiting for them. So now they're just driving around in a convertible. Like, this is fully just some billionaire romance date scenario. She says as they're riding in the car and she's enjoying herself, I wonder if this is what normal people feel like. The ones who aren't always peering over their shoulders. The ones who are happy with their lives, their job assignments, their quarters. The ones who are willingly submitted to the general's way of life, accepting every part of it, checkpoints, broadcasts, and rules. She was doing that before. She was one of these normal people. When she was, like, living on the ranch, she accepted all of these things. And she's still accepting all of these things. And we get precious little thoughts from her about how she hates it. Like, it's a mild inconvenience that there are cameras everywhere. But don't worry, she'll have a jamming device if she needs it, because she's the main character. But, like, she's this person. She's not pushing back against the way of life that the general creates. She's occasionally helping out some rebels when she feels like it, while simultaneously and uncomplainingly being in the most advanced unit of their military. Hello, Tandy. Come here. And we have our obligatory ferret visit. It's Tandy. Hello, Tandy. Say hello. Hello, Tandy. They never want to look at the camera. Let me go, mother. I crave freedom. Oh, are you just hanging out, Tandy? You just hanging out with me? Yeah? For a few minutes? You just want to hang out and read a book? We can do that. The main character is wearing strappy sandals and a dress because she did not ask, like, what should I wear when he said don't wear a uniform. She just wore strappy sandals and a dress. So he is now having to carry her because they've got to get out of the car and walk in the woods. So they're snarking back and forth like they always do, but it's not very good banter. And she's the same level of snark as she has been this entire time. But he says, I like this. What? This less bitchy side of you. And I'm like, it's the same. This is the same level of conversation that they have been having. Nothing has changed in the way they've been talking to each other. Oh, of course, the author wants to convince us of these things. In case you haven't noticed, I don't require a lot of convincing to do stupid things. Reckless is my middle name. Uh-huh.
Sure, Jan.
Every now and then being, like, chaotic because the author needs something to happen does not count as a character being reckless. So they go into a cave, which is a hole in the ground, and they lower themselves down, and I don't know why we're doing this. He called her by her actual name, and that makes her heart just flutter, because, like, that is the bare minimum. That's less than the bare minimum. He has been calling her something not her name against her will for so long that when he actually uses her name, she thinks that's a romantic gesture. But also, he has, like, a computer wrist. He's got an Apple Watch or something, and he hits a button and it says that a torch lights up the area, and I'm like, are we British now? Because I think you mean a flashlight. A torch is something like different, or is there like did one materialize in his hand, or is a flame like flickering out of his Apple Watch? What is happening? Oh, we have just entered Lightlark. Okay. So they go to a cave and there's like flowers everywhere underground. And I think it was Lightlark. There was an underground cave that was just full of flowers. We're getting some lore or some world building or something. Not clear why there are flowers down here, because flowers have flowers to attract pollinators. Are there pollinators in this cave? Anyway, the flowers are glowing, and she's like, why are they glowing? And he says, they're not glowing, it's the Dagger Stone. Shade made? Is it shade made? But yes, it's not the flowers that are glowing, it's the rock beneath them or the crystals beneath them. And suddenly she's like, oh yeah, Dagger Stone, I totally learned about that in school. What are we doing? What is this? Why have we literally jumped down a cave and visited the world of Lightlark? Apparently, Dagger Stone was created after the war, after the nuclear fallout or whatever of the war, as well as other mutations that sound like they're from Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's called Dagger Stone because it's pointy like daggers. We're very creative here. Also, they don't have fireflies, they have white fireflies. Just like they don't have coyotes, they have white coyotes. Of course, though, this is just his romantic gesture. As I predicted, taking her to see a beautiful cave of crystals, but also flowers. But of course, he's got to be like, I'm not like the other guys. I could have bought you synthetic flowers, a nice little bouquet and a vase of water, but that's not you. Wow. Of course, she's like, I don't need flowers. And he says, of course you don't. You have no expectations, but you always keep people at arm's length. Like, the ideal woman in these books is somebody who never wants anything, who doesn't want flowers, who doesn't want gestures. And so they're always like, oh my God, somebody thought about me for more than 10 seconds anytime the man does anything. That's the kind of woman that we are idealizing in these books. Not only one who never pursues men, but who never wants romantic gestures, who never would like to receive flowers, is always stunned when the man goes out of his way to do anything for them. Like, can we please expect more, ladies? It is okay for anyone, not just women, for anyone to want flowers from their partner or a romantic gesture from their partner. It's so stupid. I hate it. I hate this. Oh, this is so redundant. Shit, I hear him swear. First of all, we don't need to say him swear because the shit was the swearing. We saw it. But also, I hear him. She's in the cave with him. Of course she hears him. So, like, we don't need either of those things. You just have shit be the dialogue, and we'd understand that it was him, because there were only two people in this cave. Or you could say, shit he said, shit he barked, something else. It's the sort of thing you write in a first draft. Like, that's the sort of thing I totally expect to see in a first draft, and then you go in and you're like, oh, that was dumb. Why did I write that? And you replace it with something better. But anyway, he got a beep on his Apple Watch, and they need to leave. That's it for the date. We needed to come here, revel in the fact that a man would make any kind of romantic gesture for our heroine who never expects anything ever. And then we gotta leave. She's gotta go with him, though. There's no time to drop her off at the base, so she's gonna have to go wherever they're going in her dress and strappy sandals. She doesn't have the presence of mind to contact the rebel network, and she's like, I'm going to the general's mansion. So, like, I might be able to get you information about that. We have to be reminded by her, though, that even as she's contacting the rebels, she doesn't like them because they, like, abandoned her for several weeks, and it took somebody else dying for them to want to use her as a contact. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you didn't ever make any attempts to make yourself useful either. You were just like, save me, and they were like, no. You could have been like, I could get you information. I will get you information, instead of just, save me. No. Well, I hate you then. You have to hear again how if she sees a general, she can't just assassinate him because they have to root out the ideas. They can't just kill the general. But also, like, I mean, kill Hitler a little bit, you know? Like, I get rooting out the ideas, but also killing the most powerful person who's in charge of all of this would strike a blow against some of these ideas. If he's not here to spout the ideas anymore, maybe other things could come forward. I'm just saying. Mostly this is just here so we can feel sorry for poor Cross because he grew up in a big, scary, cold house without any love. You know, rich. He's the poor little rich boy archetype. It's really difficult to make a rich person have had a rough past, and it's usually just that their parents were neglectful in these stories. She immediately decides that there's nothing to gain from this house. There's no information here because it's too, like, pristine. Nobody's ever cooked in the kitchen. Nobody's ever used, you know, the stairs or whatever, even though apparently Cross grew up here. So she's like, well, she immediately gives up on her mission because he leaves her alone, and she's immediately like, okay, like, I don't know, determine how easy it would be to bomb this place? Does it seem like it would withstand a bomb? Or would it be super easy? Also, what are the coordinates? Maybe they are not 100% sure where it is. I don't know. Find something. But this isn't here for her to do anything useful for the rebellion. This is here so she can feel sorry for poor Cross because he grew up with such a hard life. But she figures out where Cross is gone. He went to see his mother, and his mother is in the only, like, nicely furnished room in the house. The main character finds them and immediately starts eavesdropping. So, of course, everybody's got mommy issues in these books. These guys, like, this is just Xaden 2.0. This guy's mommy issues is that his mom is very sad, and in her depressive state, she refuses to eat sometimes. Cross notices that the main character's there and swivels his head. But she figures out, looking at the mother, who seems kind of, like, dazed, that she's a mutant. She's a mutant! And probably one of the ones that has had issues, like the ones that she saw in that basement and then just left there without giving them much of a second thought, except for to be glad that she wasn't one of them. So that was that chapter. I am running out of battery, so I might have to abandon you for the moment, but at least we got through another chapter, so. Sound and video, both recording. 3, 2, 1, sync. And we're back. It is a different day from the last time I recorded. There's still a fly in here, though. Probably the same one. One of his children? I don't know. But we're on to chapter 44. I'm going to try to power through this weekend. I am going to be trying to power through this book. So let's see if we can do it. I'm hoping to get through several chapters today. I've kind of hit a wall energy-wise today. So I'm like, why don't I just sit down and read some of this and see if that inspires me with so much hatred that I go do other chores. Right? That's how that works. Chapter 44, just to remind everyone that we are on page 415 and there's still no plot. This book helped me have a revelation. I made a short about it, but in case you missed that, because I mean, it's YouTube and it doesn't show people my stuff. I came to a revelation with these books that have like spice content in them. It also came about because I saw somebody else's thread where they were frustrated, where they'd be trying to sell books, and if the buyer asked, does this have any spice in it? And they said no, the buyer would just set the book back down with a disgusted look on their face. And I'm like, I just do not understand people who cannot read a book without any spice in it. Like, I get it if it's your preference, but cannot, will not even give a book a chance. Spice is the only thing that will make you read a book. And it got me to thinking, because like books like this, dystopian for grown-ups, but like everything else, including the spice, but everything else aside from like the main couple's romance and the spice is non-existent, bland, awful. So of course readers who got their start reading spicy books think that all other elements of books are just awful and boring and they don't like them. They think that they don't like fantasy books. They think that they don't like dystopian books. They think that they don't like adventure books. They think that they don't like plots and characters and stuff like that without spice, because all of the spicy books that they have read don't have those things, are not good in any of those elements. So, I mean, if you only read spicy books, I doubt that. If you're like watching my channel, you probably read other types of books. But if you only read spicy books, please try some non-spicy ones, because believe me, there are other elements that step up and fill that emotional gap that you maybe don't have if you don't have your enemies to lovers romance. There are other things that you haven't experienced yet because you have not tried those type of books. All right, rant over. That's just me trying to avoid having to read this. Trust me, I write a lot of books without spice in them. And lots of things happen in this book, too. Delightful characters that you can fall in love with, and they never have to smooch or have sex with each other. And that's fine, and there's lots of exciting things to keep your interest. All right, I forgot what our revelation was. We had a revelation last chapter that Cross's mother is a mutant, and I'm like, oh, I'm shocked, I tell you. By the way, I wanted to add a little addendum to my talking about how, like, of course, Cross, like, he grew up rich, but it has to be, like, in this really sterile, awful environment because we have to still feel sorry for him somehow. It is especially so that the main character, who in these books has always had a harder life, well, not always, but most of the time has had a harder life than her male love interest because we're still so obsessed with, like, the billionaire romance that, of course, most of these guys have to be, like, rich and royal and stuff like that. So we have to give him this, like, oh, his life was, like, wealthy, but he was neglected. Oh, his house was all sterile and he didn't have love and everything, just so that we don't go, well, hey now, like, how come we have to feel bad for him all the time when she's the one who had all the hardships in her life? But this is so that we don't have to worry about that comparison because he's had hard things too. Usually half the time the female lead character has been, like, living in abject poverty, surviving by eating old shoelaces off the street. And he's been living a rich life, but we should feel bad for him because his mommy and daddy didn't love him enough. The main character in this book spent multiple years of her youth in a place where they didn't even have sunlight. And we're supposed to feel bad because his house didn't have, like, soft cushions and feel lived in. And also his mother is mentally ill, which is, of course, we should feel sorry for him for that, not her, him. So the main character's figured out that the mother is a mutant, but she's still asking Cross that. Why? We gotta clarify for some reason? Like, if he said no, would she believe him? So his mother is a mutant, but apparently she spent most of her life sedated because of the voices. So I don't know if we're going to find out that she was just the kind of mutant who could, like, always hear people's thoughts and couldn't turn it off, even though everybody, little children in the street have got, like, blocks up in their mind so strong that our main character can't penetrate them. Or are we going to find out that his mother had some other kind of mental illness going on and she was a mutant? Okay. She's not. Maybe. She's schizophrenic. So maybe she's not a mutant after all? I guess it's really hard to tell. That, or she thinks he might be lying, though. She thinks he might be lying because he doesn't want to admit that his mother is a mutant. Again, in this world, we can grow you a new heart, but we have come zero distance in our medication or treatment of things like schizophrenia. This fly, I am going to do a murder. I have a fly swatter right here. If he ever lands, he's going to die. So Cross is like, her veins don't turn silver, so she must be schizophrenic. And of course our main character knows that not everybody's arms do that when they are using their psychic powers, so she could still be, but our main character can't say that. The bad guys have to believe that they have that way to tell if anybody's a mutant. Apparently, though, the general, like, hates mentally ill people, because normally, I guess, they're just euthanized, and the main character's like, well, how's the general gonna be, like, euthanizing other people, but he won't his wife? He just hid his wife away. I'm like, that's because he's the bad guy, and bad guys are hypocritical. This is really, though, all this exists, this sick mother, all of this exists, so that we can see Cross's softer side, and so the main character can have a moment where she's got to feel so sorry for him. So sorry for him, you know. She's going to be like, oh, this is so hard for you. What a hard life you must be leading. Her best friend was just sent to a work camp for the rest of her life to die as a slave, basically. And she's like, oh, Cross, your mommy is sick, and that must be so hard for you, even though she has access to, like, the best doctors and the best food, and, like, her apartment is really nice, even though she's, like, kept away from society. Her apartment is really nice. She is not having to break rocks for the rest of her life, but we have to feel sorry for Cross because his mommy is sick, and that's very hard for him. And of course we get to see him be tender with his mom, you know. He's so loving to his mom. The main character's presence, though, is calming the mother. Because even in a catatonic state, in all of these books, the most important thing to them is the love life of the main character. And so she's like, oh, my son has brought a girl home. That'll get you out of a catatonic state right quick. Main character gets the idea that maybe she should try to read this person's mind to see if she is a mutant, but she immediately backs off because this woman's brain is way too chaotic, and so she's like, I can't even tell. Her brain is just chaos. And I don't know if you can have two things at the same time. Like, can you be a mutant and schizophrenic at the same time? Possibly. Maybe she's both. We don't know, but I'm still waiting for that reveal that Cross is also a mutant. I don't remember if I told you my theory. This book has failed to do anything original or surprising, to the point where it surprised me how unoriginal a book could possibly be, but this is it. But I have a theory that Cross is Wolf. They are the same person, so he's been talking to our main character for years, maybe not even realizing it's her. And maybe he does now, but he didn't, and like that's another reason that they're drawn to each other. Oh, but we do have another hint that maybe I'm right, because Wolf lives near the ocean, and Cross's mom used to live near the ocean. Or is Wolf Cross's mom? That would be weird. I don't think the book is going to go there. Oh. All right, I want credit for having brought this up before I read this line that I just read. But literally got to the end of this chapter, and she's looking at a painting in the mom's bedroom. I realize I'm staring at a scene that was described to me before many times by Wolf. I will have you know that I've had this theory for a long time, and I've probably just forgotten to tell you. I can't remember if I told you, but I will have you know. So let's get on to chapter 45. All right, chapter 45, we're just diving right back in. The main character, of course, immediately jumps to the fact that Cross is Wolf, not his mom could be Wolf. I think that, because she came from the seaside, he didn't. Now she's freaking out because she's like, if his mom is modified, that might mean that he's modified mutant. I've been calling him mutant because that sounds better. She's not guaranteed to produce a mutant child, but what if he is? But no, he's not. And I'm like, how the fuck do you know he's not? Everybody has a wall up in their brain that you can't get past, including him. How do you know he's not? If this was going to be the twist, though, if I was right and Cross is Wolf, I would have her have a stronger relationship with Wolf. Occasionally having really short conversations with him when the author remembers. Not working for me. It's like, okay, he's Wolf. So what? We don't care about Wolf. You could cut Wolf out of this book and we would miss nothing. I almost wonder if he was added in post, you know? Like, if they were like, we want to have another reason why these two like each other because they have zero chemistry. Like I said, it's like bonking two Barbie dolls together. So they were like, oh, we should give him, this is like a beta note or something. Like, we should make him be connected to her in some other way. Yeah, she says that Wolf is the person she loves most in this world after Uncle Jim. No, you can't just tell me that and expect me to believe it when you've got this much book out of the way. We have not seen that you love. This person is an acquaintance. You don't even know each other's real names. Like, and this isn't like an internet relationship where you don't know each other's real names, but you're like really, really close. Their conversations have been so shallow. They have been avoiding telling each other anything ever. And I'm like, no, you don't love this person as much as you loved Uncle Jimothy. Honestly, how dare you? And also, what a huge insult to her friend who is now toiling in a labor camp. So I guess he had to just take her with him to his mother's so she could see him being soft with his mom, and then he just ran off to do another assignment. But also, she brings up Ro, the evil brother. There's always an evil one, because, you know, Cross has two brothers. Ro and the one with a normal guy name, Kevin or something. It's not Kevin. Kyle, I don't remember. Anyway, but she brings up Ro, and she's like, does Ro know about the mother? Because I think he's got a different mom or something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, also, if that is his mom, like, have we had Ro checked for some kind of serious mental illness? Because he is psychotic. So, I don't know. I've not been paying attention to the weird familial bullshit and who's related to whom. I don't care. Okay, they have different mothers. So, Ro is not related to the mom. I think we should still have him checked, though. I don't know why, but we have to take a detour to say that Lash and Ivy are dating now. I don't know why we care, but they are. I guess because Ivy is Cross's ex and we need to know that she's moved on. Boy, again, this author just every now and then, I mean, this author is wordy. She has too many words. She uses too many words for everything, but The jeans I'm wearing are the ones that belonged to Batima. I'm wearing Batima's old jeans. The jeans I am wearing are the ones that belonged to Batima. Why are we using so many words? That's why this book is so long. This author is allergic to brevity. She's like, let me see if I can stretch every sentence into the longest it possibly can be. Long sentence doesn't mean more beautiful sentence. You're going to have very beautiful, very short sentences. Anyway, she's off to Cross's room so they can talk and then probably boink. They're immediately kissing, and she gets a little bit of a thrill out of thinking that he might be Wolf and she might be kissing Wolf right now. And I'm like, we never got any indication that you actually were attracted to Wolf. Again, we barely feel like you're acquaintances with Wolf. Wolf is the one person I trust most in this world. Wow. First of all, deeply insulting to your friend who went off to a work camp and who you seem to have forgotten existed. And also, you haven't even told Wolf your real name, and when you and he talk, it is so devoid of any details or information, you might as well be on the moon for all he knows. He says, I've never been like this with anyone, and I think we're ready for our I've never felt romantic love before you. Oh, I also could have pointless essay scene because she gets cornered and pestered by somebody at one point. We're not going to get this one because this book does not have any brutal games where nobody dies, because we are not doing Hunger Games, we're doing Fourth Wing without dragons, so we won't get this row. She does briefly, in this moment, start to feel bad about her friend that she frickin' got sent to a labor camp, and then Cross is like, no, focus on me, so let's forget about that friend, focus on the sexy times. So they do the do, as you can imagine, and then they're laying there together cuddling after, and she asks about his mom, and he's like, thanks for being so kind to my mom. And I'm like, the main character did nothing. The kindness that she displayed was staying in the room and not going, ha ha, your mom's sick. That was it. So she comes up with a clever plan to figure out if he's Wolf while they're lying there. She's like, yeah, I used to have this nightmare. And she tells him a nightmare that I'm assuming Wolf has told her that he has. She's right, though. I mean, of course she is. She's the main character. So as soon as she finishes telling about the nightmare, he flips her over and he's got a knife at her throat. And he's like, who are you? And I'm like, you know, it's so stupid. It's stupid, but I'll take it because heaven knows this book needs something. Anyway, that was the end of that chapter. Let's get on to chapter 46, and then I'll probably take a little break. And chapter 46. So she's like, chill out. It's me. I'm Daisy. Because remember, they gave each other code names. So now that she's revealed that she's Daisy and he's Wolf, they're communicating psychically, and they're charmed by this. He's not freaked out. He's like, oh, good. Finally meeting you. So I guess he also knew that they were more than just acquaintances, even though, like I said, we have not actually seen within this text, and there's a lot of text, we have not seen them having that close of a relationship. But of course, he has only ever psychically connected with her. It's kind of like this fated mates thing, I think. She is much stronger, or at least seems to be. He probably just hasn't trained. I'm sure he's super strong. But he's like, I've only ever connected with you. So, for the first time in my life, I'm actively lying to my closest friend. Because she says she doesn't know what happened at her uncle's execution. And I'm like, you've lied to him lots of times. I mean, maybe you consider never telling him your name a lie of omission. But, I'm certain there are other things that you have lied to him within this book about. So he's like, but Ren, you shielded from Lieutenant Colonel Valance. You remember JD Valance. Wow, that must be amazing. And I'm like, well, presumably you did too, Cross, because, presumably, did the general just say, no, you can't read any of my son's minds? How did you get here?
I also remind you that at the beginning of the book, a character pointed out that Cross didn't get into this military via nepotism. He got in here the right way, quote unquote. So unless that character is lying or misinformed, which I suppose is possible, but in a book like this, characters tend to just be right about things, Cross would have had to have his mind challenged by JD Valance.
She does not ask, though, about, him and how he's never been revealed. Yeah, Wolf knew nothing about her, because he just now figured out that she must be in the Resistance. And she's like, oh, that's a new thing. I wasn't in the Resistance before, even though she totally was. And it's she didn't tell Wolf that either. They were best friends trusted each other more than anyone in the world, and she didn't even trust him to say that she was in the resistance, but her hometown friend knew that she was. You remember the hometown friend, the one that got sent to the work camp? That friend? So now the main character is certain that the mother is a mutant. She's like, your mom's a mutant, dude. You have to know that. He's like, but I would have known if my mom was a mutant. And she's like, neither of us, you and me, neither of us have the silver blood thing when we use our powers. So obviously your mom didn't either. Also, I love how like the silver thing about their silver veins is such an afterthought in this book. Like the cover is like, and the sprayed edges I think are supposed to be reminiscent of that. But the main character, that doesn't even happen. That doesn't happen with the other guy, you know, her love interest when he uses his powers. So like, it feels like that's left over from an earlier idea that the author had that is now just being very poorly shoved into this book. Because if everybody who it's convenient to not have that happen just conveniently doesn't have that happen, then what's the point of it? So she's like, you should join the resistance. And he's like, I absolutely will not. And she's like, well, you're fine working for your father. And he's like, well, I've never killed a mutant. And I'm like, yeah, but you've sent them to labor camps. It's the same thing as in Powerless, where he's like, oh, I didn't kill that little child. I just sent her defenseless out into the desert with only a knife. That makes me a good person. If I'm working for the bad guys, but I stopped just short of killing, then I'm a good person, according to these books. She's not going to call him out on that either. He's like, I'm doing a lot of good, like within the ranks of this military. I'm like, yeah, but you're still working for the Nazis, dude. But she's not going to call him out on that. She's not going to be like, that's not good enough. Because he's just a hot, sad guy. He can't help it. Fortunately, we never actually have to deal with that anyway, because while she's not calling him out, all of a sudden there's an alert and a fighter jet has like crashed near one of their weapons depots. So that's the end of that chapter. So we don't have to, the author does not want you to sit with that for too long. Thinking about how Cross is doing like the bare minimum and saying that he's doing a lot of good and it's okay that he's still working for the Nazis. I'll see you later.
So I did also want to say from my lofty position in the future is that one of the reasons that I dismissed the idea that Cross and Wolf are the same person so quickly is because I thought that this author for sure couldn't resist having another man finding the main character attractive. So because every single guy that she encounters, unless they're an unhinged bully, they flirt with the main character. And I was like, this author loves to have every single guy interested in the main character. So I was like, there's no way that she would make Wolf and Cross the same person, because Wolf is just another dude to lust after the main character, because we have to prove that the main character is the hottest and most desired one anywhere ever by throwing men at her constantly.
And we are back. It is now a different time of day, but it is still the same day as I was last recording. Not that you guys care. What you do care about is that I have emotional support ice cream, and I'm gonna need it. By the way, if I sound congested, it is because it's allergy season. So there's tissues right next to me as well. Onward through this thing. Chapter 47, there's like explosion or something. So they're in a fancy new airplane that they totally learned about when they were in the program. They're flying over the top of the facility that was almost hit by the crashing airplane. Again, I'm curious if they're going to do anything, because it feels like, maybe I'm remembering wrong, but it feels like the rebels have like almost hit a couple of their facilities and not actually hit them. And I'm like, is something shenanigans? Like, what's going on?
Get used to disappointment.
But she's like, it looks so unassuming because it's supposed to just look like an abandoned barn, I guess. You'd think the locals would be like, why is there an abandoned barn there? But it says it's crawling with landmines. Landmines don't usually crawl. Do these ones crawl? So they land with no issues, and her team, which includes her and Cross, of course, is going to look for the pilot while other people investigate the plane, which I bet is going to explode. But also, like, I love how everything is always just them. Like, there's nobody else in this elite military. They're all doing something else right now. It's got to be you, Enterprise. You're the only one in the quadrant. A repetition and then repetition, one right after the other. It says, all looks calm, yet still I feel vulnerable, exposed. We don't need yet and still, and we don't need vulnerable and exposed. All looks calm, yet I feel vulnerable. Or all looks calm, still I feel exposed. We don't, yeah, you get it. And Nigel is here. Oh no, there was an explosion in the distance. Who could have done that? I honestly hope that not only is this a rebel trap, but that our main character gets caught in the rebel trap and killed. Because she's a useless operative anyway. She didn't even, like, let the rebels know, like, hey, we found your downed plane and we're coming to get you. Like, no, she didn't do that. Because she's bad at this. When you have operatives like her, who needs enemies? So they get back, everything's on fire, of course, and she's freaking out because she can't find, like, the rest of the team, nobody's answering on the radio, and I'm like, remember that you're the bad guys. So, like, yes, somebody you like was probably caught in that explosion. What was his name? I've already forgotten his name. Kane. We like Kane. He was possibly caught in that explosion. But you're the bad guys. You're the stormtroopers right now. And you're like, oh no, my friends! Like, she's gone full native. Like, she does not remember that she's supposed to be a rebel at this point. Or at any point, really, but especially at this point. She's just fully like, yep, I'm a stormtrooper, proud to be one. So they're like, what kind of bomb could have done all of this damage? And they're like, it's the new sugar bomb that the rebels were working out. And I'm like, okay. So, like, not only are the rebels actually kind of the bad guys, at least in this situation, because people we like were in this explosion, but they're also coming up with this new dirty bomb that, like, is worse than the other kinds of bombs. Are the rebels the bad? Are we gonna find out that the evil empire is, like, the good guys? I don't understand what we're doing here. Oh, I think one of the gay pair was killed. So the boys are fighting, and the main character hears something, and she's like, wait a minute. She's like, we need to get to the airfield, because I'm pretty sure that the rebels are stealing their plane, and God, I hope so. And I hope that the rebels leave them here and they burn to death. Not the rebels. I hope that the main character and her friends burn to death, because they're the stormtroopers. Okay, apparently they brought 2 planes. One of them is gone, and it's like, it was a cunning rebel plan to steal one of our planes, and I'm like, good. Of course, the author thinks that you're too stupid to understand this, so she spends an entire paragraph explaining it in detail, like, it was all a clever ruse to get us to go over here. That was just a distraction. A distraction is when you get somebody to look somewhere else. Like, it's like baby's first explanation of what the rebels must have done, and I'm like, wow. This is insulting to read, honestly.
Well, my days of not taking you seriously are certainly coming to a middle.
Oh, she has a moment of clarity when she realizes that they're not our jets that were stolen because she's supposed to be a rebel. So now the author's trying to do this thing where she's like, but the lines are blurring. God, they're blurring. Like, what's the line between good and evil? Who's the good guys and the bad guys? And it'd be great if a different author is handling this, but it's not. This character might as well not be a rebel at all. Like, her involvement with the rebellion is so minimal. She doesn't care about it. She doesn't think about it. She's not invested in it. She does it because they told her to, and she's a book character. You could get rid of the rebel aspect and just make her fully involved in becoming a stormtrooper, essentially, and this book would not change. So, like, you're trying to be like, oh, the lines are blurring, who's good and who's bad. We've already picked a side. She's picked a side at the beginning of this book. She's not a rebel. She's all in for the fascist regime. Occasionally remembering that their leader is a bad man is not the same as being a rebel. And she really only thinks of it in the context of her boyfriend anyway. Oh, it's really too bad that I'm dating the super hot son of the evil guy who rules our world. The author even killed off Kane, a character that we like. The author has been going out of their way this entire book to make us like Kane as a character, so that this death would hit extra hard, so that we are even more inclined to side with the bad guys, when she has done nothing to set up the good guys, aside from the fact that they are the rebels and we're supposed to side with rebels. She's just using the shorthand, the Star Wars shorthand. She's like, you've seen Star Wars, so you know that the rebels are the good guys, so you're supposed to want to side with the rebels. So I'm going to have to do everything I can to make the bad guys seem like the good guys. But it's like, you didn't make the good guys seem like the good guys. Are they the good guys? Or are we going to find out that the regime that hates mental illnesses so much that everyone who has one is euthanized? Are we going to find out that they're the good guys? So Cross psychically is like berating her, and he's like, did you know this was going to happen? I'm like, she did not, A, and B, she didn't warn her people either. Like, she's the worst. Nobody in these books ever turns around unless they're spinning on their heel. I don't know what it is, but like you cannot just turn around like a normal person. We cut away from that because like I guess we're bored now, and after the funerals of the people. The funerals are held 2 days later in the small cemetery on the grounds of the base. It's a depressing affair. Well, I should say so. I don't think that most funerals are like super happy. Also, I like how it's like the little cemetery on the grounds of the base. Again, trying to make everything sound like, oh, the poor little empire. It was attacked. And it has to have a funeral in their tiny little graveyard on the grounds of their military base. I think the problem that this author is having is the world that she has set up clashes with the world of Fourth Wing, which is the world she really wants to use. Fourth Wing is a military glorification book. This is a military glorification book. But she has set up a world in which there are rebels that are fighting against this military authoritarian regime. And it doesn't work because of the military glorification. And she's crying over her friend, her dead friend, and I'm like, we are trying really hard to make us sympathize with the bad guys here. I will grant you that Cain was the only good character in this entire book, but that is because I could feel the author trying really hard to make me like him. I'm like, oh, we need to like this guy for some reason. He's always fun, he's always there, he always says the right thing, he's always attracted to the main character without being pushy, so like he would date her in a heartbeat, but when she says no, he's not pressed about it. He is like the perfect man. And now he's dead. Oh no!
Yes, very sad. Anyway.
She's like, Tana and I would have shared a drink over these deaths back in the day, but now Tana's gone, your fault, and there's nothing to celebrate. And I'm like, yeah, except for, Rebel win. I guess it wasn't the gay guy. Tyler is a woman, or was a woman, Tyler, who is dead. I don't know who the gay pair is. But Tyler and Xavier seem like they could have been. But no, Tyler, I guess, was a woman, so. The main character is kind of mad that the general isn't here, personally, at this little funeral. She's like, well, he values the military so much. And I'm like, yeah, but you lost like 3 guys and one of your planes. He's not going to show up for this. You're not that special. So Cross hasn't talked to her in 2 days. Oh no, awful, the worst, because he thinks she might have been involved. And it's like, I wish she was fucking involved. That would be interesting. Because what if she was involved and then her buddy Cain still died? That would be a little bit of something. But no, she had nothing to do with this. She briefly did contact her leadership and they're like, we didn't need to tell you, need to know basis, you didn't need to know. But she could have been killed. Like, they could have killed her because they couldn't be arsed to warn her. And I think that speaks to how much they value her as an operative. Because we all know she's been so useful so far. Apparently, they weren't worried about her getting killed, though. Because they're like, we have a plan for you later on. So, like, stay in touch, I guess. Okay, we just found out a new fact about the general that I feel like could be a bigger thing. She overhears Cross talking with his brother, the competent one, Travis, the one who gets a real name. And they're arguing because Travis wants to take over for their father someday, but Cross is like, that'll never happen. But Cross says, for someone who outlaws God, his God complex sure is big enough. And I'm like, he outlawed God? Did they used to have a religion that I'm not aware of that he outlawed? And if so, what? There was only one? I have so many questions. She decides she doesn't want to talk to Cross because he's having a bad time. So she goes somewhere else. And that's the end of that chapter. Alright, chapter 48. We're going to try to power through this chapter because I have to go do other things this evening. But let's go. Oh, we don't get to find out what she went to go do instead of going to talk to Cross. I bet you that's going to be a surprise later when the author decides that the main character totally set up this thing that we didn't see. Why would we want to watch our main character do anything except for hang out with her boy toy? She's in jeans and a tank top. We need to know that. That is the official uniform of the girlies in these books. I love that this man had 2 names and they're both stupid. Wolf and Cross. She's decided that what this situation needs is a little bit of soul bearing. So it's like, I am going to info dump my backstory on you, my good sir. And thusly she does. We're still not doing anything. We get reminded again that she spent like 3 years in the Blacklands. We still have done nothing with that. What is that? Why are there Blacklands? Why did she spend 3 years there? What did that do for her at all? Why is that in here? Is this some left over from a different book?
What does
Was that like a really early draft when this was still a fantasy book or something? I don't know. I don't know that it was, but like, what are we doing? She does lie and say that she didn't work for the rebellion until after Jim was dead. All right, so what she did off page was she went to find the healer guy, who I guess he was just easily accessible, and he had him heal her scars so that Cross could see her blood mark, which is so stupid. I can't even wrap my head around what an idiotic thing that is to do, because it's not just Cross who's going to be able to see him. You dumb bitch, but okay.
It's so dumb.
So dumb, it's brilliant. No! It's just dumb.
I don't have just one ability, I have 4. And that just makes me think of frickin' Divergent. She's like, I can read minds, except for yours, because you're always locked down so tight. And I'm like, you can't read anybody's fucking mind. You've done it like 3 times maximum in this book. And each time you either were chased out or immediately backed out, because the author doesn't know what to do with that. And for some reason, she tells him also that she can incite, which is force other people to do things. I don't know why where did this come from? Why is she doing this now? There was no moment with her character where she's like, I feel like I need to do this and this is why. She's just doing it. Because I guess that's the part of the book where the author decided she should confess these things to her love interest.
Some people are really fucking stupid.
She's like, don't worry though, even if I knew how to use my incitement powers, I wouldn't. Because free will is important to me. Well, thank God you said that. Did you have somebody else heal you? Like, who else would have healed you? Because he would have seen it. No, she went to go see... So, the guy who was healing her would have seen her fucking leg. Is he running to report her as we speak? Like, what is happening? Did we forget that? That he would have healed her and then seen the birthmark when he removed the scars? So dumb.
This guy is fucking stupid.
He is, of course, mad at her, rightfully so, for doing this because it really was a stupid, stupid move. And I'm like, I just want to know why she did it. Why? Why now? Why this? Why? She just says, I know it was reckless. And I think we're supposed to just be like, oh, well, that's our main character, always so reckless. Reckless and stupid are not synonyms. Fortunately, they make up immediately in their kissing. Also, just in case you were wondering, her newly repaired hip, because the scar tissue used to be like really bad, she had like no sensation there, but now it's an erogenous zone. He does a love confession, like, I've loved you since you were 8 years old. Blah, blah, blah. It means nothing because these two people are so bland and they have no chemistry. Just because you make your characters have sex with each other on the page doesn't make them have chemistry. Then he does the confession that all the guys are supposed to do. We're just following all the beats. He does the if I ever lost you confession. We're walking. Apparently, she's the only one who's allowed to be impulsive, though, because they're talking about his tattoos, and he's like, my dad hated the first one I got, so I went back and got a full sleeve. And she says, very impulsive of you. That sounds like a Darlington move. Darlington is her last name. So obviously, nobody can be impulsive except her. She's talking about his tattoos, but rather than ask him what they actually mean, he's like, the wings are for freedom and the fire is for destruction, though he's very deep. But she doesn't ask him what the words mean, because instead she just randomly says, oh, by the way, the Uprising is planning something for the Jubilee, which is like the general's big celebration that's coming up. But the rebellion is bad because there's going to be civilians at the Jubilee. So, like, no matter what the rebels do, it's bad. They cannot rebel in any meaningful way, which is something that we see in a lot of these books as, like, powerless that are afraid to do anything with their rebels. Like, the rebels cannot actually rebel. They've got a whole fascist regime on their hands in these books. And we're still getting the message like, oh, but the rebels shouldn't rebel that way. That way is messy. Ooh, that way might endanger some people. So they shouldn't do that. They should just keep living under the thumb of the evil empire. It's fine. If they can't rebel the right way, then they should just continue being, murdered. And that we should continue having to have you live in a surveillance state where you have to get a permit to have a birthday party, and if somebody is born with a mental illness, they get euthanized. But the rebels are rebelling the wrong way, so, that's bad. She does point out, thank goodness, that the rebels do try not to target civilians, whereas his people do. She points that out. And he just, like, changes the subject. He's like, well, what are they planning for the Jubilee then? And I'm like, oh, we're not going to address that, are we? You're not going to address the fact that you're on the side of the people who don't care about civilian deaths at all, ever. And then we just smash cut, and we're doing something else. But then we cut to her chatting with Liddy, and Liddy just happens to work in the office of Cross's brother Travis, and there's murmurings that Travis might be doing some kind of like little mini coup his own self and trying to get his brother ousted. We haven't heard from Ro in a while. Did we he used up his unhinged bully potential and he's just gone now? Like, where's he at? Now they're just communicating. It's just Violet and Xaden, by the way, now that they both figured out that they're psychic. It's just Violet and Xaden. It just took a long time to get there. Also, it's interesting how they, as military personnel, are not expected to be working during the Jubilee. She's going to be wearing a pretty dress that she picked out in the city. And of course she picked out an uncommon color. Apparently nobody wears green, but she found green. Powerless vibes. Everything is borrowed from something else in these books. But here we smash cut to her. She's been told to pick up a package that has been left by the rebels, so she sneaks out to do that. Then she goes and finds a guy who's in charge of vehicles and asks that she can borrow a vehicle for her weekend. She has a leisure pass. And that's it. That's the end of the chapter. She picked up the bag that was left for her, and she's going to borrow a car, which I guess she can just do now. She doesn't have to try to drive away on a motorcycle. And that's that chapter. And now I'm going to stop because I have other things to do, and also my allergies are driving me crazy. And I will see all of you for the next chapter. Welcome back. It has been over a week since I looked at this. I'm getting really close to the end, so I just wanted to knock out a couple more chapters before I figure out what the heck I'm doing for my cosplay, because, legitimately, who would I cosplay in this? I don't know what anyone wears. There's no distinctiveness about any of these people. Nobody even has pink hair. They all have, one personality trait each and no signature style, and I'm I never thought that I would miss friggin' Fourth Wing. Or Stupid Lightlark, with its characters that are so silly, they have an aesthetic. There's no aesthetic to this book. This book has zero aesthetic. Unless you count military base and tank top as an aesthetic. Legitimately, if I sat down, if you challenged me to make, an aesthetic reel for this book, I couldn't do it. I'd be here's some marble and some people with guns and, an airplane. I'm done. All right, chapter 49. I cannot believe how many chapters are in this thing. 49. It's the Jubilee. It's the time of the general's Jubilee. So that's amazing. I don't know why we care. The main character was up to something. Boy, it has been, I think, over a week since I read this. Maybe 2 weeks. She has a package. I don't remember where she got it or what she's doing with it, but she has less than an hour to execute her plan, it says. Of course, Cross doesn't care about the Jubilee, because he's supposed to be, again, have plausible deniability. He can't like any of the things that the fascist government is doing, so that we can be well, he's the good one. Although apparently he doesn't like parties at all, because, that would give him, a personality. Apparently the venue for the party, for the Jubilee party that she's going to anyway, will be surrounded by a force field. But what I really want to know is exactly how many old squeaky tanks will be present, because I don't think I can have a party to celebrate a dictator without a squeaky tank. If you know, you know. Oh my god, she's putting charges in the caterer's quarters, and are we going to use one of the tropes that I, as a person who has worked in high-end catering, have debunked? Because that would be so exciting. If we don't get to use it, I'll just tell you it here. That common trope of a person dressing as a caterer and going into an event and infiltrating is absolutely bogus, because I don't know if you know this, but you know what your coworkers look like. They don't just pick caterers up off the street right before the event. We all work for the company. We worked together before. We all know who's working the event, what they're going to be doing. There are meetings beforehand to talk about what everybody's doing at the event. You would not just be able to show up, steal someone's uniform, and walk around and none of the other caterers would be who the fuck are you and what are you doing? So, yeah, at least in my experience, as I said, working for several years as a high-end caterer. Yes, Nigel? Again, very weird use of the word residence. Was it this book or was it the previous one we read that residence was used very strangely? The explosives taking up residence in my bag. The explosives live there? I just don't think these authors know what residence means. You could say the explosives now residing in my bag, but no, taking up residence. Of course, she's on a strictly need-to-know basis. She's supposed to plant the explosives and ask no more questions. I'm sure that'll go fine. That is the kind of directions you need to give this girl, though, because she has no thoughts, head empty. Just give her some very, very basic and easy-to-follow directions, please. All right, I don't think she needs to dress as a caterer. She's like, I'm a silver elite, and that allows me certain privileges. So you got that explanation of why the catering trope wouldn't work for free. Apparently, the explosives are in silver pods. Okay. By the way, if you're wondering if it's like exciting, intense, and adventurous to watch her plant these explosives, that entire sequence takes like a page maximum. Like, this author is not interested in things that might be tense or exciting. But oh no, on her way out, she encounters our favorite villain, who we forgot about for a huge chunk of this book, JD Valance. I know it's pronounced Jade. I don't care. I'm way too entertained by this joke that I made that no one else probably is laughing at anymore. If they ever laughed in the first place. So JD is like, what are you doing in here? And she says, I was looking for a caterer. I think his name was Eamon. I gulp through my bone-dry mouth. You gulp through your mouth. Sure. I don't even know how to fix that. Conveniently, JD does not notice the explosives because they are invisible to the eye. How they're invisible to the eye, we're not going to talk about. Are they really, really tiny? Are they like, do they have a little camouflager that like puts up a hologram around them so they can chameleon to whatever you put them on? We don't care. Just know that they are invisible somehow. Oh, okay. It turns out that they're invisible to the eye because the main character hid them so well. That means something different than invisible to the eye. If I hear invisible to the eye, I assume the explosive is invisible. What she should have said is, none of the explosives are visible because I hid them. Or, something, make it clear. Instead of they're invisible to the eye, what is that phrasing? I think this author is getting worse at writing the closer we get to the end of this book. So JD is, I think, a precog, and she's like, hey, I had a vision tonight. About you, and the main character's like, oh, but you cleared me. Like, when I first joined the program, you cleared me. You read my mind. As you recall, the main character just, all she had to do was not think about incriminating things, and that worked. So I think anybody could get past this JD person. Okay, I think we have everyone praises the main character because the villain's doing it. The villain's like, how are you able to keep your mind controlled for so long? It's extraordinary. So I think we're going to give this everyone praises the main character. I was kind of waiting for a villain to do it, and here we have that. Every villain's got to go out of their way in these books to be like, even though I hate you, you are so very cool. This author's so lazy. So she sends out a message to Cross, and it goes, what's wrong? I need you now. JD Valance just had a vision of me aiding the uprising. Where are you? I give him my location and say hurry. Not a supply closet at the back of the catering station by the tree or something, because that would involve describing something. She just has to say, I give him my location and say hurry. The main character figures out that JD is here alone because JD is embarrassed at having not recognized the main character for what she was early on. So, like, she can't admit her mistake. So now she's here to collect the main character by herself. Conveniently, nice of that to be the case. She's so confident in her mind-reading abilities, she couldn't fathom how she could have possibly been bested by me. First of all, that's a lot of words in that sentence. But second of all, may I remind you that the way that the main character bested her was to just think about non-incriminating things. JD has pulled out her gun. It has a silencer. Her intent is clear. Oh my god. The main character is just so awesome, you guys. She's just so cool. So much cooler than everyone else. So JD finally, reads her mind, and she feels, the sensation of that happening, and she doesn't flinch. The main character doesn't flinch. And JD is, legitimately astounded that the main character cannot flinch at that sensation. Apparently no one else on the planet can do that, I guess. It literally says, amazement floods her expression. But you see JD, oh hello, it's the train. But you see JD has very, very strong powers. So she says, do you realize the shock you receive when another aberrant infiltrates your mind is the equivalent of almost 500 volts, and you just ignore it? So yeah, our main character is just so badass, y'all.
You're the most important, most talented, most interesting, and most extraordinary person in the universe.
So she says, I decoy my mind before she can figure out it's Cross, meaning that she's communicating with Cross. Then it says, my gaze darts towards my discarded gun. It's in the corner of the room, maybe 3 feet from JD. She'll shoot me before I reach it. So can JD not hear you thinking that? This is the problem, where you have a character who the book is saying is decoying her mind, which I assume is what she did before, thinks about other things. But is she able to think about other things at the same time as she's thinking about going for her gun? Like, how would that work? So the main character's plan is to start mind reading JD right back, because apparently when someone is using their powers, it's easier to infiltrate their mind or something plot convenience. But like, somehow, whatever she's thinking towards JD, she's not I'm going to start calling her Jade, because JD is a pain to say. Whatever she's thinking towards Jade is somehow not able to pick up that the main character is also trying to infiltrate her mind. Like, the main character has to think about doing these things. I don't understand how this works. By the way, I'm just standing there imagining them both just like staring at each other in complete silence as their brains are like at war. From the outside, this must be a very weird scene.
You communicate without words, silently, from giant brain to gianter brain. Of course.
But the main character believes that she has infiltrated Jade's mind at least a little bit, and she's trying to force her to lower her gun. Interesting that you want Jade to lower her gun instead of turning it on herself like you did with those other people. We cannot stop kissing the main character's ass, so Jade is doing the whole join me thing, because they all do that. And she's like, I wish you'd reconsider. You're extraordinary. I've never encountered someone with such a strong mind. I wish her strong mind would have been used at any time during this book to participate in a plot of some kind. We spend way too long with the main character telling us why she would never join Jade, and I'm like, yeah, you don't need to tell us. Like, we understand that she's the villain, and she's done evil things, so you wouldn't want to join her. We have to make sure we understand that extra hard. Again, your mind is the strongest I've ever encountered. Like, oh my god, just kiss already. The main character finally realizes, hey, wait a minute. Jade is in my head, and she hasn't figured out that I'm actively trying to tell her to lower her gun. Are we going to get last minute powers? Ooh, we could get 2 on the bingo card. It's all the way over there. I'll get it when I'm done with this chapter. Now she's making Jade turn the gun on herself. Now that she's fully decided that no, Jade is very, very evil, turn the gun on yourself. However, her commands aren't working, so I don't know if we're going to find out that Jade has some kind of power that counters her power, or what. This book gives me no clues. I have no idea what it's going to turn out to be, why she can't control Jade specifically. It turns out that the main character just needed to use voice commands. So she says out loud, raise your gun to your head, and that works. Why? Who the fuck knows? It'll probably never be explained. It made the scene extra tense, probably. So, yep, she makes her shoot herself in the head. And that's the end of the chapter. Cool. I understand that Jade was like an evil villain, although she was praising the main character an awful lot. But once again, I would like to point out that for the most part, our main character, when faced with a threat, goes straight for, like, murder. She doesn't think about, I don't know, making JD shoot herself in the foot. I had to disturb Nigel slightly. All right, so we need everybody praises the main character. Oh, we're definitely getting main characters the special. I can definitely do that one right now. I'm giving it cringy sex scene because they are the exact same sex scene that we've seen 8 million billion times. I think we can definitely get it main character suddenly good at a high skill activity because like when she went through the training, she did like one training class for everything and was good at it. Definitely giving this awkward language choices. There's everyone praising the main character. Confusing magic or powers. So we'll get a bingo across here if we get evil mom or mom doesn't matter. The only reason I'm still leaving this blank is on the off chance that her mom somehow shows up at the end of this book. Every single line has one that isn't checked. Wow. That is impressive. Like, look how full this bingo card is, though. It's so full. I'll see you for the next chapter. And we're back for chapter 50. This book is so long, and it does not need to be. Right, Nigel? He agrees. Oh yeah, I forget that our main character kind of freaks out when people die. Like, she gets really freaked out sometimes when people die. Like, not all times, but sometimes. And so now she's killed JD and she's freaking out. Again, like, you had plenty of time to come up with a different idea besides shooting her in the head. She couldn't read your intention, clearly. So you could have done something like shooting her in the foot, or telling her to drop her gun and kick it across the floor to you. Why did it have to be shooting in the head? So she's all like, I killed her, but that's okay. I'm actually relieved because she can't tell anyone who I am. And I'm like, this from the girl who wiped the scar off of her leg that hides who she is so that she can, like, I don't know, go show it off to her boyfriend. And she's apparently not worried about the physician telling anyone, unless she made him shoot himself in the head as well, and we just didn't get to see it. She's all like, JD could have revealed me. And I'm like, bitch, you reveal yourself. You're just lucky that the plot contrives that no one notices or cares.
Why do you do this? You're so stupid! 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 Stupid!
We better hope that JD, whatever, I'm gonna use it interchangeably probably. We better hope that Jade did not mention her vision to anyone else. Like, we have the whole, oh, she's too proud to admit she made a mistake, so she came to deal with this herself theory that the main character had, which I'm sure is correct because she's the main character. But, like, what if she mentioned offhandedly to an aide that she knew that Ren Darlington was an enemy spy? Luckily, her boyfriend, her high-powered boyfriend, appears just in time to help her cover up her crime. He's like, go, I'll take care of it. And she's like, no, I'm not leaving you. And it's like, dude, he's the general's son. He's fine. But he's like, you have to go to the party. We have to go to the party. If you're not at the party, people will be suspicious. So I need you to go put that pretty dress on, girl. Because we cannot miss out on pretty princess dress up. She takes a moment for a shower cry. Women love a shower cry. Was she supposed to have growth throughout this book? Because that's not what happened. She just did whatever random thing the author thought she should do in the moment. But she says, I'd like to think I've grown since I got here. I've learned to be more patient. I've learned to trust someone other than myself. I've even started to rein in my impulses, sort of sometimes. So, first of all, no, you didn't. But second of all, again, this is such a confused messaging. Because she's like, thank goodness I went to this fascist military training course where I could learn to be a better person. What are we trying to say here? It's important that we know that she's wearing a bra and boy-cut underwear. I don't understand why we need to know that, seriously. Like, so Liddy, she forgets that Liddy and she were going to meet up and go to the party together. So Liddy basically bursts in wearing a white, like, housewife dress from the 20s by the sound of it.
I meant the 50s. She's wearing a 50s housewife dress. You know me and, like, dates.
Oh, that's why we need to know she's wearing boy-cut underwear. It's so that it says, they cover my birthmark in its entirety. They must be really high up on your thigh then. Because when you said thigh, I was thinking like mid-thigh. And boy-cut underwear doesn't go that low. We've never had mention of her wearing boy-cut underwear before, but today she just happens to put some on. And conveniently, it just hides her birthmark. You know, you wouldn't have had to worry about that, dearest author, if you just had Liddy come in after the main character had gotten into her dress. Or, even better, don't have your main character be so stupid that she removes the only thing that's hiding her identity from her enemies.
Is it supposed to be stupid?
It's not stupid. It's advanced.
Liddy is, of course, an absolute ray of perfect feminine sunshine. She loves parties. She's so excited for tonight.
Our modern girls play as hard and with as much vitality and stamina as any man.
But Liddy does notice that Ren's scars are gone because apparently her scars were really big and they would have been peeking out from the shorts. So Liddy's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Let me see your newly healed leg. Because that's a thing that, I mean, maybe certain friends, but it feels weird for her to be like, oh cool, your scars are gone. Like, let me stare at your leg. I don't believe you. I need to look more. I need to see all of it. And Liddy, of course, manages to see Ren's blood mark. So I love how the author couldn't come up with a reason for things to go downhill in this book. So she's like, yeah, the main character is going to do something phenomenally stupid. And I mean, it is coming back to bite her, but why did she do it in the first place? It was so dumb.
So dumb, it's brilliant. No! It's just dumb.
Like, there's not enough plot here in this book, and this book is so chunky, so there should be something that the author can use, some kind of plot that would have been building throughout the course of this story, but there's not. So instead she's like, what's gonna like trigger the climax? What's gonna get the main character in trouble? Nothing has been built up naturally, so she's gonna have to get rid of her scar, I guess, so people could see who she is. Of course, we have to point out that Liddy, while she's freaking out, is still only saying, oh my gosh, because she has really escaped from the 1950s.
The homemaker walks miles every day, from sink to icebox, from cupboard to stove, and from kitchen to dining table.
The main character manages to find a brain cell, because she needed to, or the scene wasn't going to go anywhere. And she's like, actually, the general knows that I am a mutant. He and Cross know they hired me because I'm a mutant. For some reason, she decides to throw in a lie about herself being a healer, because Liddy's like, hey, what are your powers? And she says that she's a healer? Why?
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
And then Ivy shows up for some reason, but we have to be reminded that she's Cross's ex-girlfriend who never liked the main character, and like she's here now as well, I guess. Why not? Why not? Might as well happen. Things are just happening. The author's like, I don't know. Stuff happens. I feel like perhaps this author is just not very creatively minded. I feel like she doesn't have a lot of her own imagination. Almost a little bit like, I forget which of these books I was talking about, but that author as well. I was like, they don't have their own imagination. They're just pulling stuff from other books and rearranging it into theirs. But also, I get this weird feeling, like if AI was used in this book, and I've been kind of like keeping my brain on the lookout for like signs of AI, and I think the actual writing itself is good old-fashioned crappy human writing. Like we as humans are capable of writing bad things just as much as the computer, especially because I remind everyone that AI takes from us, not the other way around. It is copying us. So if AI is bad, it's because there are lots of people who are bad at writing as well as other factors. But you know what I mean. But anyway, if AI was used, to me it feels more like the author probably went to a generative AI and was like, give me some ideas for what could happen in this scene. Like, here's some details, here's the scene. Give me some ideas for what could happen. So it was like her best friend finds her out and her lover's ex-girlfriend shows up. Like, that's what it feels like. If AI was used, that's where it feels like it was used, because nothing feels like it flows together or fits together. It's just a series of events happening. The things that happen in this book do not feel like cohesive parts of a whole. It's just a series of events. A series of unfortunate events. Luckily for our main character, they live in a dystopian world where information is tightly controlled. So when Liddy and Ivy are like, let's see some proof that you're actually working on our side and that you were hired because you're a mutant, she's like, well, you don't have clearance and I don't have clearance. None of us have clearance to view that information, so I can't show it to you. Gosh darn. So Liddy agrees that she believes the main character, and it says, a gust of relief blasts through me. But Ivy left before the main character determined whether Ivy believes her or not. So that's the end of the chapter. Oh, wow. That's so dumb. How many chapters have I got left? So chapter 51. 5 chapters? All right, so maybe I'll read chapter 51 because I think it's pretty short, and then leave the rest for whenever I figure out what the heck I'm going to cosplay. All right, let's go. Home stretch now, everyone. So, something weird just happened. While I was waiting for my audio to finish, like, saving to my tablet, I was on my phone and looking at my YouTube, and somebody claiming to be the author, Danny Francis, author of this book, is commenting on my first video, which is out.
So I'm just going to give you an update on this situation. I interacted with this person for a while because I thought it was funny, them pretending to be the actual like ghostwriter of this book. They made all sorts of claims, like that they had not only written this book and had it stolen, but wrote a bunch of other books. They also claimed that someone, their publisher, their agent, someone was threatening their life. They were obviously just making a whole bunch of bogus claims. Oh, they also claimed that they hid some type of code within the book, based off of letters that should be capitalized but aren't. You know, I mentioned early on that the capitalization was random, like some things are capitalized and some aren't. Like the continent was capitalized, but something else wasn't. And they were like, there's a secret code actually, and you need to figure it out. And I was like, fuck that, I'm not doing that. But I like to imagine that they thought for a moment that they had tricked me, and I was going to totally believe them. I did ask them multiple times, what do I get if I solve the code? You know, is it your real name? Like, what is it? And they would not answer me. So they were too lazy to come up with a lie for that. But anyway, obviously they are, not the real author of this book or any other book that they are claiming to be the real author of. The thing is that after a while of interacting with them, I got the feeling that they're probably very young. They claim to be in their 20s, but I think they're probably about 13 or 14. Like, that's the vibe that they give off, the language that they use, the things that they talk about, like talking about their mom and stuff like that. I'm like, no, the stories you're making up, you sound like a young person. Either way, even if they are in their 20s, they're still a pretty young person. So I'm like, I just decided to stop playing that game with them, and I was very firm with them, and I'm like, I'm sorry, this has been fun, but I think you're very young, and you need to know that it is not okay to roleplay with people without their consent. You should keep your roleplay to websites where roleplaying is intentional, and also this person has contacted other author tubers. I checked in with Reads with Rachel, who, we're not friends, but she does answer me sometimes when I message her, so, you know, basically besties. But I checked in with her, and apparently this person emailed her, and I'm like, you gotta stop doing that. Leave the YouTubers alone. They did not ask to participate in whatever this is that you have going on. She tried one more time to, like, engage with me by being like, well, I think that all of your books are stolen, Julie, and you didn't really write you books. You stole them. You have no proof that I'm not Danny Francis. And I just flat out said, you're not Danny Francis. Stop this. And they did not come back. But we'll see if they come back again to talk to me about this voiceover that I'm doing right now. But anyway, that was the whole thing. I was going to make a video about it until I figured out that they are probably very young. So I'm just going to leave this here. Do not, and I cannot stress this enough, do not go and engage with them on those old comments. Don't do it. Remember that this person is probably a child, or at least acts like one. They're not okay, so please do not harass them. If you do, I'm going to be so disappointed in you, and you don't want the Julian disappointment. That's going to hurt your feelings real bad. So just don't do that, okay? Thank you.
So we have cut to going to the ball, or the party, the Jubilee. You know, the orchestra's playing. It's a big ballroom. That's all the description we get. Oh, and there's a stage set up at the far end with some blue curtains. That's certainly where the general's going to be giving his presentation later. But, like, that's it. But I don't even know what the main character's wearing yet, so I'm assuming we cannot miss out Pretty Princess dress up. All around me, uniformed officers mingle with civilians in their finest attire. So why is our main character not in uniform? Why do some people have to be in uniform but not her? That's what, you know, that could be something interesting to do. Like, what do the dress uniforms look like for Silver Elite? Because that's probably what they would be wearing to this Jubilee, not a Pretty Princess dress. It just turns out that their dress uniforms are a Pretty Princess dress, even for the men. If this book did that, I would turn my opinion around on it so fast. Interesting that Jade could have a vision that the main character was going to, like, plant bombs and mess up the Jubilee, but could not have a vision that the main character was going to get her to shoot herself in the head. We don't know enough about how precognition works in this world to know why that is. We just have to be like, yep. She does manage to reach her boyfriend. He's like, I'm on my way. She tells him what happened with Liddy and Ivy, and he's like, you never should have removed your birthmark. And she's like, I was trying to prove my love to you, which is just the dumbest thing ever. She sees Adrienne, and I don't remember who Adrienne is. Is that the mom?
I'm just going to let you know now, it's not the mom. I thought it was for a while, but it's not. Adrienne is just one of the high-up rebels who our main character has communicated with a few times in this book, but not enough times that we remember. So, yeah, it would be a lot cooler. I really wish that this had been the mom once you see what this character gets up to, because that would have been way more impactful. Not the main character's mom, Cross's mom. That would have been so much more impactful, but it is not her.
She just catches a glimpse of Adrienne, though. Yeah, he's in his dress uniform, but she's not. Apparently her dress is green. I think we found that out earlier, that she was going to be wearing a green dress. We never find out why Ivy showed up at the main character's, like, barracks while she was changing and talking with Liddy. Like, no idea. Aside from, we needed Ivy to know the secret so she can be out here, like, being a potential hazard. The general's here. We still haven't described her dress other than the fact that it's green, and I'm going, did we describe it really well in a previous scene and I just don't remember? How are you going to not describe your main character's pretty princess dress? What a weird thing to have on its own as a sentence. So Cross goes with his father. It says, he's visibly unenthused as he follows his father. They share the same height. They share the same height is its own sentence. And then, so they share the same height, period. And then Travis joins them to make an imposing trio in their dress uniforms. They share the same height? Why is that its own sentence? What? That's so weird. I don't understand. Ro is also here. All the brothers are here, but Ro looks high. So the general makes a speech about how the old emperor or whatever, Severin, he was a mutant and he believed in mutant supremacy. The general heroically came and overthrew him and chopped off his head. And that's the story that the general's telling anyway. She does notice as the general's saying his speech, the general says, my wife was in the garden, which doesn't seem to go with the rest of his speech. And the main character is like, that's a weird thing to add. But she gets distracted because Ivy is headed her way. The general has started, like, not making sense. So mid-speech, he again is like, we took the train here when my son was 5. And it was the kind of day that makes you want to stay home with your family. So somebody's obviously getting into the general's mind. Maybe it's Ivy? Whoever the general's handlers are, they're letting him, like, actively have a stroke on stage and not doing anything about it. But he's, like, babbling nonsense now, and nobody's coming to get him. Okay, yep, it's Adrienne, and I'm assuming Adrienne is his wife. Finally, about a page and a half into his mad ramblings, his sons decide that maybe they should intervene. He's trying to shoo them away, though. Okay, apparently they have Star Trek in this universe, because she said, I literally saw it happen right now, right here, in warp speed. As far as I know, warp speed came from Star Trek. So Travis is trying to save face, and he's like, yeah, my father's blood pressure medication is causing him to clearly stroke out on stage, so I don't know why that's better. But right when they're just about to get the general off the stage and deal with the situation, there's an explosion! The rebels are here! And that's the end of that chapter. And now I'm going to stop. I'm going to let y'all go. I'll see you later for the next chapter. Well, hello there, everybody. It's me again, your favorite Shadow Auntie. If you're not familiar with me, I came into being in the last read-along when Julian couldn't come up with anybody to cosplay as because there really wasn't anyone interesting in the story. And she didn't want to cosplay as a Shadow Daddy. Those guys are so boring. So she decided to channel her inner Wisconsin auntie, and here I am. Shadow Auntie says, remember to drink your water now. Here, you need a sip? Here you go. Okay. And also, always remember that when you're making your shadow casserole, you're going to want to layer in the cheese. Lots of cheese, everybody. The cheese is the most important ingredient, besides the shadow powers. Are we ready to finish reading this horrible book? I hope you are, because I am. I hope you have a shadowy day. Thanks, Shadow Auntie. By the way, I want you to appreciate this shirt that I wore specifically. You know, it's got all the red shirts, but this is why I wore it. Can you read it right now? All right, let's finish this bad boy. See what bingos we can get. I suspect in the last couple of chapters, there's going to be like all kinds of twists and reveals because these books love a twist and reveal after like this much book of absolutely nothing because they're like, oh, we need to give you a reason to want to read book 2 and to forget how boring the rest of the book was. So we'll drop in a bunch of twists and reveals rather than putting them in this book. We're going to be like, here's a bunch of things that could be interesting in the next book. This literary equivalent of a quicksand swamp, you had to read through that before you could get to anything potentially interesting. But yes, there was an explosion. Everyone's freaking out. Soldiers are doing soldier things. We forget that our main character's a soldier, and shouldn't she be doing soldier things? I mean, I know she's a rebel, but wouldn't she be expected to be doing soldier things? Are we going to have a situation very similar to Powerless, where the rebels attack and the main character is like, gotta go! Because she's so wishy-washy, she has no allegiances, no loyalties, not even to her own people. She's just like, I got mine, and runs off. The main character is like, I have eyes on Adrienne, and she goes for Adrienne. However she does this. I'm assuming she's wearing heels, but they probably both are. And she drags her away into the loading area where there apparently nobody is, I guess. So Adrienne is in rough shape, and we hear about it 3 different ways. She looks sick, physically ill. In fact, she can hardly walk, her knees noticeably wobbling. Just say one of those. So Adrienne is like, this is normal, and then our main character's like, oh yeah, I had a physical response when I incited at Jim's execution, and I don't remember that, but maybe she did. It has been a long book since then. She says that also happened with Jade, but to a lesser extent, but I don't think that didn't happen. She wasn't exhausted by having done that to Jade. She just like took off and went and took a shower. Listen, I'm not one of those editors or readers who's a super stickler about this. This is something that some people have a problem with when you use eyes instead of gaze. So like her eyes locked on mine instead of her gaze locked on mine, because the eye is the physical thing, the gaze is the looking. I'm less picky about that. However, every now and then it super duper doesn't work. Like, for example, the last time we met, her eyes were sharp as daggers. Now they're dull and hazy. Her eyes were sharp as daggers, not her gaze was sharp as daggers. Or even her gaze was sharp, we don't need the daggers. Like, there's certain times where it's way more noticeable how silly it sounds when you use eyes instead of gaze. So she keeps, like, trying to grill this woman on what she did to the general. She's like, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do? No other questions for this lady. She's like, what did you do? I don't know whether she's mad or she wants to learn how to do it herself. There's no like emotion from her about it. She's just demanding answers. And it's like, why do you care what she did? The general is evil. He wants to wipe out you and all of your people. But clearly Adrienne is working for the rebellion because she like touches her ear and is like, I need to pick up. And the main character's like, all right, I'll help you get to the rendezvous point. She's not happy about it, though. She's, like, sighing about it. I don't know. Like, where do her allegiances lie? It's so wishy-washy. We've got a character who cares about nothing, being tossed between 2 ideologies, one of which wants everyone like her dead, and another of which might occasionally use problematic tactics. Pick a dang side, lady. Again, she's like asked like 4 times, what did you do to the general? She's really fixated on this and there's no clarification as to why. Finally, Adrienne is like, yeah, I rewired his brain. That's a thing that some of us can do. It's very, very rare, even more rare than your ability. No one is stopping them, by the way. No one has seen them. No one has noticed them. She and this lady are just like limping away slowly towards the row of cars. Nobody's running towards the cars, like none of the guests are trying to flee. It's just completely open and empty for our main character and this lady to limp away. Oh, the command soldiers marching by appear to be in full control of the situation. Well, thank God, we don't have to worry about that. She says, I'm starting to realize the uprising is far more powerful than command intelligence can even imagine. And I'm like, at the beginning of this book, they made it clear that they are so hacked in to all of like the technology that they could easily get your ID unflagged, could get you able to move throughout the town, could get you to a safe house, could get you whatever you needed at any moment's notice if they wanted to. It's just like they didn't want to that was causing the problems. Like they could have saved Jim, they just didn't want to. So like how much more power do you think that they have? We also don't get the character's thoughts or feelings about it. She just states that they seem to have more power, but she doesn't have any thoughts or feelings about it. And the way that it's stated, it feels like it might be sort of horrifying. Like, oh my gosh, they have so much more power than we thought. When, again, they are going up against a totalitarian regime that is monitoring every movement their citizens make and forcing them to get permits for things like birthday parties. One of the sugar bombs goes off kind of far away, but the main character recognizes it as a sugar bomb or a sweet bomb or whatever they're being called. So while she's looking at the explosion in the distance, Adrienne jumps in a car and drives away without the main character noticing. She's just like, bye. Wow. Our main character is so observant. The only one who has noticed the main character leaving is Ro, Cross's evil brother, and he comes over to her, but fortunately Adrienne has already escaped. He is, of course, being aggressive and scary, and he's like, I know what you did, and she immediately believes him and is like, fuck. So she tries to punch, he blocks, and then he knees her in the stomach, and that move is like such a shock to her that she's like, Ro has always been decent in combat class, but clearly he's been practicing since that total ass-kicking by Cross in the pit. So, like, proof that he's been practicing is that he blocks one punch and knees her in the stomach. That's proof that he's, like, gotten better at this. Ro knows what she is, and she's like, shit, Ivy told him. He immediately pins her down because while this girl is a master at hand-to-hand combat, it's only against other girls. She cannot even... Like, he's just kicking her ass completely. She threw, like, one punch and missed, and now he's just kicking her ass. And it'd be one thing if it was like, I'm not used to fighting in a dress, my ball gown is getting in the way, I'm clumsy, I'm fumbling, I'm wearing heels. No, he's just, there's no mention of that, or her being hindered in any way. He's just winning automatically. Takes her down and is strangling her. Ro decides he doesn't want to kill her himself, though, so a bunch of guards, a bunch of stormtroopers come over and point their rifles at her. Ah, but shock and surprise! Ooh, what a harrowing twist! It wasn't Ivy who gave the main character away. It was Liddy! Oh my god! So the only reason that Ivy was there was so that we could have this shocking twist that it was Liddy instead. Oh, it's so contrived. It is so contrived. Like, we had no reason for Ivy to go to her room and see her naked thigh, but it was just so we could think in this moment that Ivy gave her away, and instead it was Liddy.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
And again, I remind us all that the only reason any of this is happening is because the character made a really, really, really stupid decision that, like, she has the thinnest of justification for doing because she wanted to prove her love to her man, who, may I remind you, is working for the fascist regime. He just feels a little bit bad about it and, like, doesn't like doing the dirty work. And she's taken to the stockade. Time jump. Okay, I've been wrong this whole time. I've been telling you that Adrienne was Cross's mom, but she's not. Vanessa is Cross's mom. She's thinking that maybe Adrienne is the reason that Cross's mom is the way that she is. I can't keep track of these people. I really could have used, like, a quick reminder at some point during that scene who Adrienne was. So she's been sitting in the cell for hours, and she keeps being like, Cross, come rescue me. And he's like, I'm busy, so good for him. But she's not sitting here thinking about the people she's killed or the fact that her best friend betrayed her. She's sitting here wondering how the heck Adrienne did what she did. Again, not sure why. Does she want to learn to do it herself? Or is there some other reason that she's, like, really, really, really interested by this? Now she thinks about Liddy, and she's like, oh, it should have been obvious because Liddy all this time has been very racist against mutants, like openly racist against mutants. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, the signs were all there. You chose to have a racist friend, and you were just like, well, she won't be racist against me. It's very leopards eating your face.
Bonded over bigotry, but they weren't supposed to turn on me. No, I never thought leopards would eat my face.
She does think about her bestie, Tana, who she betrayed, and she at least has the courtesy to feel a little bit bad about that, about getting Tana sent to the labor camps. She seems to feel guilty about Tana being captured at all when she warned Tana and her father that the cops were coming, basically, and they tried to flee. If she hadn't warned them, they still would have been caught. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not your fault either way, but we like to do that with a character, have her be, like, guilty over something that wasn't really her fault, so that we don't actually have to have her do anything bad. Everybody always has jammers whenever they need them, whenever they need to not be being recorded. So Cross comes and he's like, we can talk because I'm wearing a jammer. I don't know what a jammer does to the cameras. Do they loop footage or something? Like, what is the person who is undoubtedly watching her camera feed? What are they seeing right now? So Travis has apparently declared war on mods, which seem to already be going on, but maybe he's going to be doing it more proactively, just going out and, sending out his ICE agents, if you will. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that some of the main characters' fellow mutants are slaves. Fully slaves. Called that on the page. They are enslaved. And she's still, like, just kind of sympathetic, very sympathetic to the military's point of view. She never comes down hard on, like, this military is super evil and everyone in it is super evil. She's just kind of like, some of the people are bad, but there are good ones. Fortunately, at least the thing with Jade was easy to cover up because they just claimed that Travis announced that all mutants would be killed or sent to labor camps, and then they're like, she killed herself because Travis made that proclamation. So that got swept under the rug nice and easy. Okay, so Adrienne is one of the rebels, but the main character is like, I'm going to try to link to her again. I've been trying to link to her and she hasn't been responding, but conveniently now she does respond. So she's like, come get me, and they're like, we can't because everything has gone to shit and we can't get to you. But if you can get yourself out, you can come to our base, which is called Dagger. It's located beyond the Blacklands, which is fine because our main character will be great at the Blacklands. This might be the only reason that she has the Blacklands as part of her character's backstory.
Oh, you're right. And when you're right, you're right. And you're always right.
Of course, Adrienne does mention, yeah, you're welcome to come to our base, but nobody makes it through the Blacklands alive on foot. And of course, the main character's like, silly peasants. I was basically born in the Blacklands. I could walk through the Blacklands in my sleep.
You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it.
So the main character finishes up with, they won't come rescue me, but I might have a way to rescue myself, and that's the end of that chapter. And chapter 53, how will our intrepid main character free herself? Who knows, because she doesn't believe in coming up with plans. I'm sure she'll wing it and everything will turn out fine.
And when you're right, you're right. And you're always right.
Oh, her boyfriend just lets her loose. Okay, so he leaves and then he comes back in the middle of the night with a jammer again, and he's armed to the teeth. And it just says, we don't say much as we creep out of the stockade, navigating the maze of halls until we finally emerge outside. So escaping was actually... play the clip.
Super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
They take that car to another car. This author loves to switch vehicles. This car being driven by Xavier. I don't remember who that is. I think he's one of the commanders or something, or one of her fellow... I don't know. He's some guy that we saw a couple of times. So she takes the time to be like, hey, Cross, I think the rebellion is responsible for your mother's condition. I don't think she was a mutant. I think that they just damaged her brain. So I don't know. This author really wants us to dislike the rebellion, and I'm concerned about that. And then they share I love yous in the back of the escape car. So they take this car driven by Xavier to some motorcycles. This is trains, planes, and automobiles. Like, they are going to take every type of vehicle. Are they going to end up on horses? Like, come full circle? She's, of course, got to ride behind Cross because there aren't enough bikes. So she's got to... And she can't ride in front because everybody knows that the man has to drive. And then they just easily reach the Blacklands. So it turns out that her plan for escape was just escape. That's it. Like, if you found her notes, like her intricate escape plan written on a piece of paper, it would just say escape. So good. I'm glad that wasn't difficult at all. I think the real problem that this evil regime has is like how easy they are to thwart. All you need are camera jammers. 80s band? The Camera Jammers? Anyway, all you need is like a couple of those and 3 separate vehicles, apparently, and you're out. You're good. They're already to the edge of the Blacklands. No interference, no difficulty getting here, no tense moments where they were like held up and had to present their IDs and she and Cross had to hide in the back or anything like that. They're just here at the edge of the Darklands. And of course, they are nervous about it, but she's like, I lasted in there for 3 years, and you 2 babies are scared to walk inside for 3 hours? Oh, apparently, it's actually a 7-hour walk, but she lies to them because she can already tell that they're scared. I keep amending. It's a 7-hour walk to her and Uncle Jimothy's old, camp. Their old place of residence. And then after that, they have to keep going. But Cross finally admits that he's not going. He has to stay here. And she's like, no, baby, please come with me to the rebellion. And he's like, no, I have to stay here and keep my 2 bloodthirsty brothers from doing worse things. Even though, if you joined the rebellion, I think that would be a great way to help stop that from happening. She does a thing where she bites her lip so hard it's bleeding. A lot of characters do that, and I'm like, I've never bit my lip that hard. Maybe I've just never been tense enough, but And I'm a lip biter. I bite and chew on the inside of my mouth when I'm nervous, but I've never made myself bleed, actually. She's like, well, then I'll stay. And he's like, no, I can't protect you here. And I'm like, dude, you guys escaped so easily. I feel like it would be actually really, really easy to protect her here. The fly is back. He left for a while. Now he's back. So then she also finds out, I don't know why the author felt the need to do this, but it also turns out that Kane also betrayed our main character just a little bit by revealing that she and Cross were dating. And she's like, God damn it, all my friends keep turning on me. And I'm like, what does that serve? Honestly, what does that serve? I have no idea also, by the way, what the main character is wearing. Is she still in her ball gown, or was she allowed to change clothes when she was put in her cell? We don't care. Like, in my mind, she's oscillating back and forth between outfits. We're supposed to be convinced that these two are so very in love. She's clinging to him, being like, don't leave me, don't make me do this alone. And he's like, you got this, and I'll always be able to communicate with you psychically. And it's just like, oh my God, these two not people are trying to convince me that they're sad. Again, main character using so many words. As the sun peaks over the horizon, casting hues of orange and pink across the sky, Cross tips his head toward the faint light. The sun will be up soon, he says. You have to go. So, like, she's never satisfied unless she's telling us something twice in two different ways. So the narrative tells us the sun is rising. And then Cross's dialogue tells us the sun is rising. We don't need both. Pick one. Of course, he tells her, you're the strongest person I know. They all do that. I don't know. I think he might change his tune if he saw how quickly his brother, like, overpowered her. She says, as she watches Cross go, he's the only person I've ever been completely, truly, and unequivocally myself with. What about Uncle Jim? I feel like you were pretty yourself with Uncle Jim.
Jim.
What about your friend Tana? Your bestie Tana. You were never yourself with your bestie? And that's the end of the chapter. He leaves. She's sad. They're going to go into the Blacklands. The only reason that she grew up in the Blacklands at the beginning of the book was so that she could cross the Blacklands at the end of the book. Thank goodness we had all of this giant book in between.
Also, if you've been wondering for any explanation of the Blacklands, what is it, why did it form, how is it sustained, shut up. You're never getting that. We're never getting that. Get used to disappointment, as the kids say.
I feel like this whole Blacklands thing is so dumb anyway. It could have been anything. Did it need to be a land that was just, like, always dark? It's Mirkwood. I don't know. It's magic. A wizard did it. Why couldn't it have been, like, a mountain range or a really challenging river system or something? Like, why is it the Blacklands, the place where it's just pitch black 24/7? It probably just sounded so much more badass in the author's head. Anyway, I'll see you for the next chapter. We're back for chapter 54. Is this the last chapter? Perchance? Perchance? Maybe? Please? Yes, I think it is. I think we're on the last chapter, y'all. We are almost clearly getting through the Blacklands. Oh no, there's another chapter. Either way, we're very close to the end. Clearly getting through the Blacklands is going to once again be super easy, barely an inconvenience. Apparently this forest, the Blacklands, is a lot like the fire swamp from The Princess Bride, because she's like, don't walk so fast, you'll step into some black sand, which I assume is the lightning sand from The Princess Bride. If there were ROUSs, that'd be great. What an odd choice for a dialogue tag. They're talking about the horned bears, and she says, don't worry, he usually doesn't come out in the morning. This is morning. He squawks. He squawks? Her friend Xavier squawks? We time jump. They're attacked by some kind of giant cat. She can't tell because it's the Darklands, but she shoots her gun and she kills it. I guess that's why she made that amazing shot earlier. She can shoot things even in the Darklands. She says, it's a red cougar. They're delicious. Because, you know, predators are famous for being, like, the best eating. Like, what makes the red cougar delicious? Again, I just keep reiterating, this author is always using so many words. The sound of rushing water, a low, lazy gurgle, soon fills the disconcerting silence. Relief tickles my throat. I can't see the creek, but I can hear it, and that's all that matters. So basically, in 2 sentences, she said the same thing. I can hear the creek, but I can't see it. We don't need it twice. At one point she mentions that Cross never lied to her, because like she and Wolf only ever omitted things, but I'm pretty sure that he did lie to her, because she was talking with Wolf about the seaside, and Cross wasn't at the seaside. He only got those ideas from paintings in his mother's house. Like, you could say, oh, he just made her believe because he, like, just didn't tell her it was a painting he was looking at. But at that point, that's very much lying. Like, he was definitely saying things about the seaside as though he was there. And that's not lying by omission. That's just regular lying. And of course, Xavier has an anecdote about her and Cross's love life. About the day that Cross dumped Ivy because Cross knew that Ivy wasn't the girl of his dreams and that he was actually deeply in love with Daisy, his long-distance mind pen pal. Of course we have to have an anecdote about this because everything has to do with the main character's love life. That is the most important thing on anybody's mind at any given time. I feel impatient inside my boots.
Why are you the way that you are?
We also have been given no idea of what the terrain is like here in the Blacklands. Is it rocky? Is it flat? Is it overgrown? Are there trees that they have to dodge? Like, they're just walking through it. They're having absolutely no difficulty. So I'm given to assume that the Blacklands is literally just open space where there's no light. Even though it was talked about like it was a forest in earlier parts of the book, there's no mention of qualities that forests have as they're going. They're just going. Oh, occasionally there's quicksand. He steps in it, but fortunately it makes an interesting noise first, similar to the fire things in the swamp. Apparently there are things with leaves at least somewhere because her companion accidentally touches them and now he's all itchy because they were snake root leaves. As predicted, it takes them exactly 7 hours to reach the clearing where she and Uncle Jim used to live when they spent 3 years in the Blacklands. Apparently, though, when they left the Blacklands, they left their hut well stocked for some reason. Did they think they were coming back? Because she goes through the crate they have in the corner, and it has things like first aid supplies, solar batteries, 2 handguns, several clips of ammunition. But also, at the bottom, she finds a letter. She doesn't have time to read it right now, though, so she puts it in her pocket. This is very reminiscent of in the latest Light Lark book when she goes to her secret island and finds, like, things from her parents, but decides to save them for later for some reason. Uncle Jim's clearing, however, is special because, like, fire works here, but it doesn't work in other parts of the Blacklands, I guess. Like, the rest of the Blacklands, you can't make light, but here you can. So he's like, hey, are the predators going to creep up on us at night? And she's like, no, they don't like the fire. But the thing they don't like about the fire is the smoke, not the light. Because, like, I remind you, these predators are used to hunting and living in absolute darkness. But the light doesn't bother them. It's the smoke. She finally decides, okay, I'm going to read Uncle Jimothy's letter. It looks like it's pretty short. Okay, we don't get to read the whole letter. It's just like, if you're reading this, I'm probably dead. And also, pay attention, little bird. There are some things you need to know. So old Uncle Jim's going to probably drop some bangers of information last minute, but we don't get to read the letter. We just get to be told about it. So whatever she read in the letter, she's not going to reveal it to us yet because we still have like 1 chapter to go and we need to drop that bomb last minute. But she tosses the letter into the fire because no one must know whatever the heck Uncle Jimothy told her. And that's the end of the chapter. Chapter 55, let's go, let's go. Hopefully this is the last one and we will be free at last. It takes them 48 hours to get to the outside of the Blacklands, apparently. We do find out, for some reason, this is revealed about Xavier, a character we don't care about. In this last chapter, it's revealed that he's bisexual and probably aromantic, because he says that he likes to like sleep with different people, but he's never had romantic feelings for any of them. I mean, that's great, but why do we need to know this? Why are we finding this out right now in the final chapter of this giant book with a character that we barely know? They come out of the Blacklands, and the view that greets them is beautiful, lush. There's mountains, there's a river. It's just gorgeous and picturesque. So she contacts the rebellion, and she's like, I made it through. And of course, they have to take a moment to be like, you made it through the Darklands? That's amazing. You're so cool. I think this is the second time that excitement has tickled her throat. I don't know why excitement is so tickly. So they're like, you need to get to higher ground and then we'll pick you up with a helicopter. I'm suspicious that like they're gonna like shoot at her or something because they've decided that she's a liability probably or something. I don't know. Some shocking thing is gonna happen at the end of this chapter. But they're like, yeah, great. Glad you made it. Get to higher ground and we'll pick you up. Everything's fine.
We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
So it turns out that her true loyal friend is this Xavier guy who she has never really interacted with until now. And they journeyed through the Blacklands together, but we didn't actually get to see much of that journey or feel the length of that journey because the rest of this book was so taken up with nothing. But now they're besties, so, like, she trusts people. Like, she just had found out that her other two best friends, like, betrayed her. But now she's like, wow, he's such a good friend. He's so loyal and he's taking care of me. And it's like, girl. Maybe the real friends were the guys we traveled with through the Blacklands who we never really gave any thought or attention to, but we made along the way. They make it to the top of the hill. A helicopter does come to get them. It does not shoot at them. It lands, and we have an entire paragraph of her, like, trying to figure out who's inside it, but, like, not in an interesting way. She's just like, there's two women, and they have ponytails, and there's two probably men because they have short hair, but, like, make that take up several sentences, and I'm like, why do we care?
And once again, by this book standards, I am a man. I don't know why people are so baffled by short hair on women.
Ah, okay, I guess. Sure, whatever. This might as well happen. But one of the guys gets out, and it's Kane! He was never dead after all, and also probably never betrayed her, I guess? He's here! The character we liked is still alive, I guess. I don't... Why?
You're kidding. What a crazy random happenstance.
I'm sure there's some convoluted plot reason, but it also, and at the same time, why? I mean, why any of this, really? Xavier, however, is furious because Kane is responsible for the death of his girlfriend, who we also found out that he didn't really love. But he's mad, though, because Kane survived and the other people in that explosion died. And so Xavier gets restrained, and she's like, but he helped me, and they're like, we don't care, because everybody's a villain in this. I tried to slow the thoughts seeping through my head. That certainly was one way to phrase it. Seeping. Your thoughts are seeping. So she finds out that actually Kane infiltrated this military elite society, which apparently it's super easy to infiltrate because like multiple people were there having infiltrated it. It almost seems like more of the class was rebels infiltrating than it was people becoming elite military soldiers. But he's like, I was sent in to infiltrate because we needed that plane. So the only reason he was there was for that op that happened late in the book where there was an explosion and then the rebels stole an airplane. And she finds out that he's Grayson Blake, the hotshot rebel pilot that I guess we heard about at the beginning. And I literally only know we heard about at the beginning because I just happened to be watching Reads with Rachel's review of this book and she mentions it. Otherwise, I absolutely would not remember who Grayson Blake is supposed to be. That's your twist? That some guy you mention at the beginning of your book is actually her friend? We don't care. Why would we care? Conveniently, the main character forgot to inform anyone in the rebellion that she was bringing somebody with her, so Xavier immediately got arrested. And this is one of those instances where it's like, you just having your character say, I forgot. Reminder that it took them a really long time to get here, and she could have contacted them at any point. But she didn't. And she didn't contact them when they were coming to get her. She didn't go, oh, BT dubs, I have this guy. She's just like, it'll be fine. And then the main character's just like, honestly, I forgot. I was so relieved to make it through the Blacklands. Yeah, that's stupid and it's bullshit. That's an excuse. Your character just forgot. It is a plot convenience that the author is like, if I have the character do the logical thing, then my plot won't work. And I say it all the time to people that I work with. If having your character do a logical thing that would make sense for them to do and for them to remember to do messes up your plot, there's something wrong with your plot, not with you letting the character do the logical thing. Let the character do the logical thing, and you, the author, have to deal with that because you're the author. She legitimately considers just leaving, just going right back into the Blacklands. Because she's like, ugh, the rebellion is also so annoying. I don't want to deal with them. But she's like, no, but now Xavier's here as a prisoner, so I guess I have to go. And also it's hinted that there was something in Jim's letter that is making her want to leave, but of course we don't know what it is yet. That's got to be I'm guessing last page reveal, so we can all go, whoa! But so far I've been very unimpressed with the reveals because they're all with characters that I don't know or care about. I mean, I don't care about anybody in this book, but oh my gosh! That guy's not dead. Oh my gosh. Xavier's maybe a nice man. Who's Xavier? Oh my gosh! That guy is a hotshot pilot we heard about at the beginning of the book and didn't remember. Whoa! And that, yep, the letter is indeed the last page. Very last page is Uncle Jimothy's letter. So let's see what it reveals before we just go on to the acknowledgments, which are 2 pages long. I don't know why all these authors who write these like big best-selling books gotta acknowledge everybody who ever like looked at them. So I'll just read Uncle Jim's letter. The print is really small, so I'm sorry I'm going to be holding the book up to my face. Your name is Stella Hess. Your mother's name was Marina Serrano. She was executed for concealing her modified identity from the company. I loved her deeply, despite what she was. Your father's name was Jake Hess. He died in the Sun Post attack, a modified retaliation to the bombing of Vetera Ridge. None of that means anything to us. The bombing your parents coordinated. To the uprising, your parents are known as the Tin Block Traitors. They are responsible for the loss of countless modified lives. Your mother betrayed her people, and your father helped her do it. Well, good. Like parents, like daughter, actually. She is definitely a sympathizer, so it's really working out well for her, honestly. I love you as if you were my own daughter, and I will love you even after I'm gone, little bird. Burn this letter after reading. So that was our reveal, is that her parents were traitors, actually. But like I said, our main character is a Nazi sympathizer, so I think it's fine. Like, she's a tacit Nazi sympathizer. She's not one of those people who's like, yeah, the Nazis are great. But she's also really reluctant to say that they're bad. Yeah, some of them are bad. I didn't like the general very much. He was mean, and Roe is mean. But, like, a lot of them are really nice. Like my racist friend Liddy. So I'm just reading the acknowledgments, and a massive shout out to my early readers and my proofer who pointed out that I used the word heart way too much. That is not the only word you used way too much, but I hate to think of what this book looked like before that proofreader get their hands on it. Also, I don't see anything about a developmental editor. Okay, here's something about the developmental editor. For my tag team of Emily Archibald and Sam Bradbury, who were happy to hop on a call to talk about plot or just argue about love triangles, Team Edward versus Team Jacob. Ha! I knew that was hiding under this book with like Wolf and that. Yeah. You guided this book towards its best version. Thank you for all of that. This is the best version. Now, I do want to make one thing clear. There's a lot of emphasis right now, especially with the Audra Winter situation and everything, on getting an editor, which is so, so important. And I'm not just saying that because I am an editor. I am saying that because it is a fact. Like, even if you have absolutely no interest in ever using me as your developmental editor, but like editors, especially developmental editors, are not useless. They're actually a huge important part of a lot of authors' process, especially newer authors. We don't know who this author really is because Danny Francis is a pen name, but yeah, the thing is that you can throw as many editors as you want at a book, but if the author's craft isn't there, it isn't there. So like an editor can do a lot and they can fix a lot of things. But if it's not there, it's not there. A hefty portion of a book is still down to the skill of the writer's craft. So, it's a team. It's teamwork. But even the best editor in the world cannot fix a badly, badly written book. They can maybe elevate it a little bit. They can help get it closer. Because a lot of people like to say writing is a talent. And some people can be a little bit more natural at it, but it's a skill. And skills take practice. And a lot of these authors don't seem to be practicing. She finishes with, writing is a gift, and sharing this journey with all of you has been the best part. Writing is not a gift. Writing, I think we love this idea that you're just born with the writing gift, and you just do it. And like some of us are more natural at certain aspects. I'm a natural storyteller, but not a natural writer. So the craft of it took a lot more time and a lot more practice for me than some other people. Some other people are natural writers and not good storytellers. And so they have to practice the storytelling aspect of it. Like they can get some words on a page and they can make a pretty sentence, but they don't have the skill to tell a story. So, like, you have to get good at both of those things. And one or more of those things may be a little bit easier for some people versus others. But there's nobody who just, like, comes out of the egg fully just naturally gifted with the ability of writing. People like to point out people to me like Mary Shelley. She edited that book. She had help. She worked on it. She crafted it. She did not just shit Frankenstein out into the world fully formed and it was done. She was a natural storyteller, and that's great. But she did, in fact, have to edit the book. Also, this about the author is so vague because, again, this is a ghostwriter, essentially. Dani Francis is an avid reader, a lover of all things breakfast, and a hopeless romantic. When she is not creating high-stakes fantasy worlds with complex characters, I would love to see one of those. If this... Could I have had that instead of this? Because neither of those things were present. You can find her spending time with family or trying to figure out why the printer never works. So that is the most vague. You could slap that on most authors as their bio, and it'd be believable. And that's it. That's the end of the book. There's no bonus chapters or anything, at least in this copy. So let's have a look at the bingo card, everyone. I don't know where I lost the dust cover. I was going to say let's look at the blurb. I might have to just go on Goodreads and look at the blurb, because we have the blurb lied, which it almost certainly did, but we need to actually read the blurb to verify. All right, so the blurb. Wren Darlington has spent her whole life in hiding, honing her psychic abilities and aiding the rebel uprising in small ways. Very small ways. It's unclear how she helped the rebels at all at any point. She's just a member of their group. Didn't really do a whole lot, and definitely is not invested in being a rebel. She seemed to have been grandfathered in because Uncle Jim was a rebel, and that's like as far as it went. On the continent, being modified means certain death. Now, untrue, you could be sent to a labor camp. And Wren is one of the most powerful mods in existence. When one careless mistake places her in the hands of the enemy, she is forced to join their most elite training program. I love that even this blurb is very silly, because it's like she's captured and forced to join an elite training program. Not forced to join a work crew or forced to join the Hunger Games. Ah, prisoner, you've been captured, you rebel spy. Quickly, join our elite military program. That'll teach you. She's finally handed the perfect opportunity to strike a devastating blow from inside their ranks. Luckily, she will never take action on this because she's incredibly lazy, and it takes the rebellion approaching her and being like, hey, maybe you'd like to do something, for her to actually want to do something. But training for Silverblock can be deadly-ish, especially when you're harboring dangerous secrets and living in close quarters with everyone who wants you dead. And whatever you do, don't fall for your greatest enemy. As the stakes grow even higher... Well, that's the biggest lie of all. The stakes never felt stakey, even kind of. As the stakes grow even higher, Wren must prove herself to Silverblock. But that's easier said than done when your commanding officer is the ruthless and infuriatingly irresistible Cross Redden, who doesn't miss anything when it comes to her. And as war rages between mods like her and those who aim to destroy them, there's no war raging in this book. It's very tacit. Occasionally one will bomb another when they feel like it, when they're bored one day. Wren must decide how far she's willing to go to protect herself and how much of the continent is worth saving. I don't know if she cares at all about the continent. Wren is one of these heroines, just like in Powerless, who's like, listen, if I'm happy, I don't care what's happening to anyone else. Like, they're ultimately very selfish characters. They're like, all I want is for me to be happy with my love interest, and everything else that's happening, I'm really not interested in thinking about it. I'm not interested in going deeper. I'm not interested in learning more. Anyway, I'm going to give it the blurb lied because, yeah, there were lots of lies in that blurb. Let's see, what else are we missing? I don't know if we ever really had what I would call a true not like other girls moment, so in fairness, I'm going to leave that blank. We never had brutal games but few die, because I thought this was going to be an actual Hunger Games clone, but it was really just set in a dystopian universe that was like the dystopian universe of the Hunger Games. Evidence of AI use. This is a sticky wicket, because I do think that AI may have been used in portions of planning this book or coming up with scenes or brainstorming. I didn't actually see evidence like I'm used to seeing of AI writing itself on the page. MC has sudden last minute abilities. I I don't think so. Oh, I am giving it total badass constant damsel because she did need to be rescued all the time. Lazy or useless map. Yeah, the map meant nothing. Confusing fight scenes. There really were no fight scenes. Like, there would be a couple of scuffles, but they were very brief and very quick. And they weren't hard to follow, so I guess I can't give it confusing fight scenes. Ah, but here we have evil mom or mom doesn't matter. She got both! She got both on this square. Not only was her mom evil because she turned out to be a traitor, but she also didn't matter to the story. Wow, I ought to, like, can we double cross this off? We got lots of bingos, but the bingo that I just completed was confusing magic or powers, evil mom doesn't matter, no animals, or animals have no personality, horny, awkward language choices, everyone praises the main character, and main character behaving badly with no fallout. I'm also going to give it horrifying implications, I would die for you person I just met, cliffhanger / nothing is resolved, surprise villain reveal. Yeah, because Liddy turned out to be a bad person, so that's a surprise villain reveal. And I have fat equals evil, but I'm going to cross it off because there were no fat people. And we also give it that if the fat person is evil or if there are just no fat people. So look at this bingo board. It is completely covered except for not like other girls, evidence of AI, confusing fight scenes. Oh, and main character has sudden last-minute abilities or powers. Other people turned out to have sudden last-minute abilities or powers, but not the main character. So, yeah, we covered a lot of my bingo mega grid. Comment below, should we continue to use the mega grid? Should we keep pulling that bad boy out? Should we just keep making the bingo board bigger and bigger until I'm holding up like a poster-sized board? What do you guys think? All right, I'm gonna let you go. I will probably do a follow-up video at some point where I talk about how I would developmentally edit this book. But for now, thank you so much for joining me on this interesting journey. Actually, it was incredibly boring. Thank you for joining me on this incredibly boring journey. I hope I managed to make a book that is literally should be prescribed as a sleep aid. I hope I managed to help make that a little bit interesting for you. Anyway, I will see you next time for whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. I'll see you later, and you tell your ma I says hi. And watch out for deer.
Good news, everyone!
It's patron time. Airy 925, Indigo Marmot, Adriana, Laura, Wanda, Choco Tina, Clara, Lisa, Jen, Tex, Moon Island, Zenith, Ashley, Corey, Bunny, Nemo, Tactical Hotdog, Haley, History Nerd, Pixelizzy, Raya, Christina, Cameron, Lady Kragan, Jose, Lunar Muse, AJ, Marshy, Semi-Dark, GK Scout, Annika, Jen, Tina, Laknanga, SB Boots, Martha Baggins, July, Bird Anonymous, Sarah, Kat, 78 kilograms of shade, Veda, Ingrid, Roma, Haley, Sam, Kira, Mooney, Pudamancer, Kohikaru, Kirsten, Bear, Jojo Bookish, Robin, Ursula, Caitlin, Jessica, KJ, Mufflier, Celia, Neon MVM, Deborah, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Merween, Kit, Light Julie, Patrick, Callison, Vampire Antihero, Shelby, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, and Amanda. Thank you all again so much for being my patrons. You keep the lights on around here.
Never thought the letters would leave my face. No, I never thought the letters would leave my face.